Rebirth in India as a Brahmin. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Hot Spring Hotel. At this time, the owner of the villa came out. This woman named Mrs. Yoichi, who was about 30 years old, seemed to be very familiar with Nanako Matsushima. She greeted her enthusiastically as soon as she came over, and then led the way to the small building. Until they got closer, Shakru discovered that a smooth calf was exposed under the hem of her kimono, and she was wearing a pair of Japanese clogs on her feet, which was exactly what he had thought just now. But her small steps plus a twisting posture made people have many associations, so Shakru whispered to Nanako Matsushima, "To be honest, I haven't seen you and Sister Iijima wearing kimonos. I think it should be very sexy. Otherwise, let me see it tonight." But we didn't bring kimonos this time. Otherwise, Sister Iijima and I will wear the most beautiful kimonos we have collected to serve you when we go back. Nanako Matsushima replied a little shyly, "Well, okay, but you two have to serve me well when we take a bath together tonight." Shakru changed another request point unexpectedly. This time, Matsushima Nanako smiled and said, "Okay, as long as you want it, we can accompany you in any way." Although Matsushima Nanako's answer completely met Shakru's requirements, Shakru didn't know why he always felt that something seemed wrong. While talking and laughing, several people walked into the small building. This wooden two-story building is called a foreign house. It doesn't look very big from the outside, but after entering, you will find that the area is really large. The first floor is a hall with a large chandelier hanging on the ceiling, a circle of sofas in the middle, and a fireplace burning on the wall. The layout is very European and there is no Japanese style at all. At one end of the living room is the dining room and kitchen, and the back is a residence of the foreign family. It turns out that this wooden house is made up of two rooms connected together, which is a bit like the meaning of a shop in front and a factory in the back. The back is the owner's living room, and a small second floor is built in the front, which is rented out as a hotel. You see, there are many newlyweds coming here for their honeymoon every year, and the schedule is very full. You can't rent it just because you want to. Nanako Matsushima pointed to the two sides of the stairs leading to the bedroom on the second floor. There were many picture frames hanging there, most of which were photos of young men and women. It seemed that they had all lived here. The decoration and layout of the second floor were completely Japanese, from tatami to wooden paper doors, and there was no bed in the room. Just like what we saw in the movie, all the bedding was hidden in a large closet with sliding doors. When you want to sleep, you can take it out and spread it on the floor to sleep. After sleeping, roll it up and put it in the closet, and it will be an empty room again. Due to the traffic jam on the way here, it was almost noon. After Mrs. Yoichi arranged the bedroom for them, she went to prepare lunch, leaving Shakru and others on the second floor to pack their own luggage. Don't mention it, the view of this room is really good. Is there a hot spring below? Shakru took advantage of Nanako Matsushima and Iijima packing their luggage to open the window to see the environment here, and was really stunned by the beauty outside. The full view of Mount Fuji is in the distance outside the window. At this time, most of it is covered with snow, squatting there like a big ice cream, which is both beautiful and a little funny. Below the window is a small courtyard with corridors on both sides. Opposite should be the residence of the Yang family. The courtyard is very large, and the owner has decorated it very beautifully. Not only are there some trees planted, but there is also a small bridge. There is a stream under the bridge. The end of the stream is close to the house, forming a pond. The surroundings are built with Tehu stones like the ancient garden buildings in China. The water surface is steaming, which should be the legendary hot spring. The strange thing is that this hot spring water seems to be close to the house. Well, let's go up the mountain after lunch, and then take a hot spring after we come back. Matsushima Nanako and Iijima knelt in front of the closet taking out the clothes of several people from the suitcase one by one, and then putting them into drawers and wardrobes in different categories. Just like two housewives' lunch surprised Shakru, it was hot pot, and it was not the kind of electric or gas hot pot, but a pure charcoal hot pot. The pot was very Chinese and Beijing, but the ingredients were very Japanese. There was no mutton or lamb tripe, that is common in China, but pork. Add some fresh fish, shrimp, and vegetables, and the variety is also very rich. In addition, Shakru is not used to the seasoning here, which is soy sauce soup and fried sesame. Fortunately, the pork and other ingredients here are very fresh and tender, and they are delicious even without seasoning. Shakru, who didn't even eat breakfast, shook his cheeks and poured 2 plates of pork slices, a plate of 3 fish, and most of the shrimp into his stomach. Maybe influenced by him, the 2 girls' appetites also increased a lot. They finished 1 plate of pork and half a plate of shrimp respectively, and also patronized 2 plates of vegetables. The proprietress, Mrs. Yoichi, was very happy with the performance of the 3 people. She was a very enthusiastic and kind housewife. She felt that the fact that the guests could finish the food she cooked was the greatest recognition of her labor. She repeatedly asked and encouraged the 3 fooders whether they wanted another plate of meat or shrimp, and finally gave them a large glass of fruit ice after the meal. The afternoon drive to the 5th station was very dull. We just drove along the road up the mountain. Since it was winter, the only thing we could see was snow. So if you want to see the beauty of Mount Fuji, it is best to come in autumn. It is said that in autumn, the place is full of various colors of red, or come in spring to see the cherry blossoms. Since the scenery was not attractive, Shakru had to ask some questions about Mount Fuji. The first one was the question of the 5 stations. From the foot of Mount Fuji to the top of the mountain, there are 10 stations in total. The 5 stations mean the middle of the mountain. There is a road here, and there are tourist buses to take. To go up, you have to climb by your own legs, or pay to hire a donkey. As for the station, it is a unit of distance measurement in ancient Japan, a bit like the meaning of 1 stick of incense or half a stick of incense in ancient times. Its specific meaning is that a person starts walking with a candle until the candle goes out, and this distance is counted as 1 station. At this time, Shakru couldn't help but think of the big red candles as thick as arms that are common in domestic temples. If you climb the mountain with such a candle, it is estimated that there will be only 3 stations left in Mount Fuji. PS. Since many friends have told me that I might have forgotten about Matsushima Nanako, and I have never written about Nanako's inner story, so this week I will try to write about her inner story. Therefore, in today's chapter, the protagonist will accompany her to pave the way for the inner story. Chapter 202 Emissa, additional update by the helmsman. Back at the hotel, it was already dark. Seeing the lights of the car, Mrs. Yoko ran out of the house with a smile to greet the 2 of them. She was really as enthusiastic as her own children coming back from playing point after dinner. Mrs. Yang took them to the back of the stairs. There was a small door here. After entering, it seemed to be an empty house, but this house was very special. Half of it was wooden floor and half was a pool. One wall of the house was open, with only a curtain hanging on it. Under the curtain was the steaming hot spring. It turned out that the pond in the yard that Shakru saw in the morning was connected to the pond here. Perhaps considering the weather or problems, the Yang family deliberately made the hot spring pool into a pattern with a small half in the house and a large half in the open air when building the house. A simple curtain was used to block the middle so that guests can freely choose whether to take a hot spring bath in the open air or in the house. Especially for those newlyweds, taking a hot spring bath in a house covered by a curtain should be more imaginative. Ouch. After introducing some utensils, the foreign lady left the hut. Shakru couldn't help it any longer. He took off his clothes and got into the hot spring pool. After working hard all afternoon, the hot spring water made his body feel so comfortable. In addition to the hot spring water, there were 2 equally naked and soft women's bodies beside Shakru. After entering the water, Nanako Matsushima placed Shakru's body in front of her, letting the man's body lean against her body, and pressed the man's head with her fingers, while Aijima was massaging Shakru's legs. Hot spring, naked body, beautiful woman, massage, plus the snowflakes blown in from outside the curtain. Shouldn't we do something more meaningful at this time? Originally, Shakru wanted to do it, but after soaking in the hot spring for a while, he found that he couldn't do anything. Not only was his whole body soft, as if it was falling apart, but even the capital for doing bad things was soft and unwilling to obey the call of the brain. You didn't put drugs in my dinner, did you? Why do I feel so weak? Shakru tried to think hard for a long time, but he was still weak from beginning to end. Hahaha, you can't blame me for this. I promised to take a hot spring bath with you. Now I haven't broken my promise. Matsushima Nanako also shrank her body in the water at this time. Her two calves were lifted to the surface by the buoyancy. She twisted her toes lazily and protected Shakru's body with her hands. I said you agreed so readily. It turns out that you knew the effect of this hot spring long ago. You are bad. Shakru was really powerless at this time. All the muscles in his body relaxed, and even his eyelids began to fight. Just soak for a while. The hot springs here are magical. As long as you sleep, you will be full of energy tomorrow. Basically, all the people waiting for Mount Fuji will soak to relieve fatigue after coming down. Matsushima Nanako picked up the towel by the pool, wet it with hot spring water, and covered her head. Shakru slept very soundly that night, without even a dream. When he opened his eyes, it was already 9 o'clock in the morning. Nanako Matsushima beside him hadn't woken up yet, but Shakru didn't let her sleep any longer. What she said last night was right. After taking a nap in the hot spring, the body will recover quickly. At this time, Shakru was full of strength. He wanted to make up for all the losses last night, and double it. Okay, then it's the inner part of this weak point. It was almost noon when the clouds and rain stopped. The physical strength obtained from the hot spring water was lost again. It was definitely impossible to go downstairs for lunch. At this time, Nanako Matsushima and Aijima were lying on the mattress with flushed skin, motionless, but their bodies were still rising and falling with their breathing. Shakru himself was exhausted. This woman, especially Aijima, was a white bone spirit in bed. She would not stop until she sucked your marrow dry. This made Shakru a little worried. Should he find some natural treasures to replenish his body? He was young and okay now, but how could he still be their opponent in a few years? I have not figured out how to improve the protagonist's ability in this area. If you have any good ideas, please tell me in the book review area and the reader group point. After enjoying the hot spring for 2 days, Shakru returned to New Delhi. Since he had already bought the plane, Shakru's top priority now was to find a suitable pilot. According to his original intention, he actually wanted to find a retired pilot from the Air Force, but it turned out to be an extremely difficult task. You should know that the cost of training a pilot in the Army is quite high. From a novice to a mature fighter pilot, the Army needs to spend nearly 5 million yuan, so the Air Force has always been the most popular among all arms. The military ranks of those pilots are generally much higher than those of the Navy and the Army. In a flight brigade, you can't find a soldier. All of them are officers in the end. It was Ibrahim, the giant, who helped him, using a price twice as high as the salary to dig a pilot from a civil airline, and through this pilot, he also dug 2 experienced stewardesses. The reason why Shakru gave the pilot such a high salary was that in addition to his job, he was also responsible for the complicated matters of contacting the airport for air traffic. Because he was from the civil aviation industry and had connections and experience in this field. After getting the pilot and the stewardess, Shakru went to learn parachuting for a week, for no other reason than that he was afraid of death. Not long after, all the formalities of the plane were completed, and it was finally time to officially receive it. This time, Shakru brought Amisa with him to give her a surprise. As expected, when Amisa saw the big words Amisa on the plane, she was so excited that she almost screamed, and then immediately covered her mouth with her little hands. But her big eyes were still full of tears, because he had too many women outside. Shakru always felt that the one he was most sorry for was Amisa. After all, she was his official wife, so he hoped to make up for Amisa as much as possible in other ways, so as to alleviate some of his guilt. But what he never expected was that the first voyage of this Amisa was actually for another woman. Aishwaryaps, this chapter is for the helmsman. Actually, I still don't know. Thank you for your support, Q. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Red Carpet. Since participating in the Miss World beauty pageant last time, Aishwarya has regained her freedom because her model agency did not perform its duties normally. So she signed all her contracts with Shakru's Polaris company. This time, it was New York Fashion Week. As the Miss World of this year, Aishwarya was naturally invited, and she could also invite a companion to go with her. Of course, this person cannot be invited casually. At least he must have a certain status or some relationship with the fashion industry. So Aishwarya invited her boss Shakru Pandit. Originally, Amisa also wanted to go with her, but it happened that one of her cousins got married, and she had no time to go. So the maiden voyage of the Amisa fell on Shakru and Aishwarya Point as one of the 4 major fashion weeks in the world. The other 3 are London, Milan, and Paris Fashion Week. New York Fashion Week is held twice a year, each lasting about a week. The Autumn and Winter Fashion Week of the current year is held in February, and the Spring and Summer Fashion Week of the following year is held in September. Therefore, the 1995 Fall/Winter Fashion Week was held this time, starting from February 4th, 2015 to February 11th. Point at this time of year, walking on the busy streets of New York, you can see tall and beautiful men and women, or fashionistas dressed in avant-garde styles everywhere. Similarly, during the Fashion Week, celebrities gather together. Fashion pioneers and celebrities from all over the world appear in the shows of major brands, and I don't know how many films will be killed. Point since 1993, New York Fashion Week has been held in Bryant Park in Manhattan. It is placed in giant white tents in tapery. Only invited buyers, industry insiders, media, and celebrities from all walks of life can enter under the protection of 2 black Cadillacs in front and behind. The car that Shakru and Aishwarya were riding in slowly slowed down. The Cadillac one with a length of more than 7 meters and the 7 or 8 local bodyguards who were on standby attracted the attention of the nearby onlookers and the media at the first time, so that when Shakru got out of the car, the shining spotlights were almost connected, so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. Obviously, Aishwarya was much more experienced than him. As soon as she got off the car, she waved calmly around. Shakru also took the opportunity to squint his eyes, waited for a moment before adapting, and walked along the red carpet with Aishwarya. However, judging from the reactions of the surrounding media and onlookers, most people obviously did not recognize his identity. Point however, everyone was still quite concerned about him. On the one hand, they were curious about who this man who accompanied this year's Miss World was. On the other hand, Shakru himself was also very eye-catching. He was good looking. In addition, today's look was also carefully matched. He wore a set of Oxford fully handmade custom-made wide collar black evening dress, paired with a classic white shirt, and an equally classic black bow tie, plus a pocket square. Although there were not too many complicated patterns, it showed a chic and elegant temperament. Point this dress worth $30,000 is indeed worth the money. Every detail of the careful design and the perfect connection created by more than 3,000 stitches set off Shakru's tall and strong figure to the fullest, and he looked particularly charming under the spotlight. In such an occasion with explosive hormones, although a considerable number of onlookers were still in a state of hesitation, there were still people screaming and chasing him crazily, which was enough to prove that his charm at this moment was definitely not inferior to those idol stars or models. During the whole process of walking on the red carpet, Shakru simply smiled and waved to express his greetings, and his pace was also deliberately coordinated with Aishwarya. Otherwise, with his temperament, he would definitely create a record for the fastest red carpet walk. They stopped at the end of the red carpet, leaning against the huge background board, posing in a relaxed and casual posture, and began to accept interviews. Naturally, most of the interviews were aimed at Aishwarya, but when they learned that Shakru was the boss of Heng Pharmaceutical and the producer of the filming of The Bandit Queen and The Last Princess, they immediately became interested, because Shakru's films have always been based on the American market as the main profit direction, so his films are very well known in the United States. Of course, in fact, His Wolfgang is more well known, but it is not convenient to say in this occasion point, although each fashion week lasts for 7 days, the tight rhythm itself cannot be changed, because nearly 100 brands have to arrange shows in these 7 days, which means that there will be nearly 20 brands in one day at most, not including more than 100 unofficial shows, held in other venues in the city. This leads to various designers having to fight for media attention, venues, models, and audiences, and the schedule is crucial point. Generally speaking, unknown designer shows are usually arranged in the first few days, so don't think that the clothes you buy at the 4 major fashion weeks must be high-end, because there are also many unknown designers. And then the important shows. Business shows are mostly used to talk business, and the evening shows are the real events. Internationally renowned designers shows will be held on weekends, when European bigwigs will fly to New York, and the last large-scale show of the weekend needs to end in time to facilitate these bigwigs to take night flights back to Europe. As this year's Miss World, Aishwarya naturally participated in the last large-scale fashion show, and a friendly fashion show of the weekend, so she did not come until this time point. The backstage of a show is very busy near the start, especially during the most concentrated fashion week such as New York Fashion Week. It is as tense and chaotic as a battlefield. Not to mention other pre-show preparations. The models who participate in the show generally have to go through multiple fittings a few days before the show. On the day of the show, designers will require models to arrive at the venue a few hours in advance point. As soon as the models arrive backstage, they will be grabbed by hairstylists, makeup artists, etc., and all traces related to the previous show will be wiped off their bodies. They will be made up and styled according to the concepts established in the hair and makeup experiments. During this process, models will often be called to rehearse, and someone will explain the stage style and overall structure of the show to them during the rehearsal point. In order to avoid damage or wrinkles to the clothes, the models can only change clothes until the show starts, that is, a few minutes before the first set of looks appear. The hangers they use are all attached with combination cards, including names, photos and important personal data. The clothing managers help them change into a full set of clothes to ensure that their looks are exactly the same as those on the dress cards. Once dressed, the models are ready to be photographed, which will be saved for the show's lookbook as a record. To be continued. Chapter 204 The Queen Wearing Prada. Generally, fashion shows rarely start on time, and it is common to be delayed by 20 to 30 minutes. After all, there are so many plans and preparations to be made in advance, and the pressure is so great, and all kinds of chaotic links must be controlled. Therefore, after sending Aishwarya to the backstage, Shakru walked slowly to his seat. The seating arrangement of the show is very particular, which fully tests the organizer's showmanship and diplomatic skills. The presence of celebrities in the audience can greatly increase the reputation of the designer and also allow the fashion show to receive more media coverage. For real experts, only the first 3 rows of seats are the most noteworthy. The first row is reserved for important guests, and it is precisely because of this that designers prefer U-shaped platforms, which can leave more front row seats. The neighbors of important people should also be people of equal status, and even higher status than each other, so photographers often take the front row of the audience as the subject of the photo, and they are one of the components of the overall show. VIPs will be arranged in the best seats in the first row, such as 2/3 of the backside of the straight catwalk. This position is very advantageous, and you can have enough time to see the front and back of each garment. The less important members of the fashion editors or buyers team will be arranged in the second and third rows, but the positions further back are no different from the barren land of the Arctic desert. No one can tolerate being arranged in such a position. If you see someone at a fashion show who is dissatisfied with the position arranged by the organizer and asks to move his position forward and walks away angrily after not being satisfied, don't be surprised. Such things can be said to be common. There will even be some guests with less important identities who slip into the empty seats in the front row before the show starts. So you see, no matter how glamorous the fashion celebrity world is, it will appear vulgar and even ugly after the veil is lifted, but people still enjoy it and talk about it with relish. People outside the circle desperately want to squeeze into the circle, and people inside the circle desperately want to squeeze to the center. This is the eternal and indelible vanity at work point. The organizers naturally arranged a good seat for Shakru, but the seats in the show are often just letters and numbers, so it is difficult to know what kind of important person will appear here, so as to avoid the embarrassment caused by the absence of celebrities. So when Shakru sat down, he saw a face next to him with a bit of surprise and astonishment. Sitting on Shakru's right hand side was a lady with short golden bangs. Although she was not familiar with the media, Shakru still recognized the face in front of her. She was Anna Wintour, the editor-in-chief of the American version of Vogue magazine, and the prototype of the female editor-in-chief of the movie The Queen Wearing Prada, also known as The Devil Wears Prada. She also has the title of Dame, and was awarded the Order of the British Empire. "It's nice to meet you, Sir Wintour." Shakru took the initiative to greet him, and joked with a bit of humility, "To be honest, I'm a little nervous. I hope my dress is not so bad that you leave." Anna Wintour is undoubtedly a fashion star. Many designers will even postpone the showtime because of her lateness, which shows her status in the fashion industry. Of course not, Mr. Pandit. With your appearance, you will look fashionable, no matter what you wear. Wintour smiled in appreciation, with light crow's feet on the corners of her eyes, looking very kind, without the harshness of a female devil. Shakru was very surprised that Wintour could call out his name, so he said, "I'm really flattered to receive your praise, but I'm more surprised that you know my name." Wintour smiled and replied, "I like The Last Princess you shot very much, and it seems that all the Indian movies released in the United States are from your company, plus Miss Aishwarya's performance this year. It is difficult for me not to pay attention to you." Then she changed the subject and said, "Mr. Pandit, are you interested in taking a series of photos for my magazine? I can transcode and leave a cover for you." Wintour repeatedly examined Shakru with a professional eye, and it didn't look like a courtesy at all. In her opinion, Shakru not only has a handsome appearance and a perfect figure, but also the temperament of a successful person from a foreign country, is a real treasure. Even without mentioning his popularity, he can fully support a cover. "If I have time, I will seriously consider it." Shakru also put away his smile and answered seriously. Vogue, founded in 1892, is a fashion magazine with a long history and wide respect in the world. It is even called the Fashion Bible in the United States. Only first-line models and big stars can be on the cover of this magazine. Not just any star can have this opportunity, otherwise they will probably be attacked by those loyal Vogue Dehead fans. So it is definitely a great honor to be personally invited by Wintour. Very good, Shakru. Please contact me. I will reserve the page for you. Wintour was happy from the bottom of her heart. For someone like her who truly loves fashion, seeing Shakru is like seeing a piece of exquisite unpolished jade, and she will be very dedicated to creating a perfect work point at this time. The show has entered the tense final preparation stage. It is obvious that it is about to start. Wintour is still enthusiastically chatting with Shakru about fashion topics. Shakru is also very humble and patient. He does not pretend to be mysterious or pretend to know something. However, his occasional answer or interruption can make the other person's eyes light up. The conversation between the two is unexpectedly harmonious. Wintour also took the initiative to exchange contact information with him. The cameramen of the show have already stood in position and are ready. In addition to the tabloid reporters, there are also front row character cameramen and fashion cameramen. These people will not only shoot the scenes of the catwalk, but also capture the situation on the scene. Therefore, the celebrities in the front row will dress up carefully and keep good manners at all times. Some people may feel tired, but for celebrities, this is the only way to maintain exposure, and to some extent, they even enjoy the process. New York Fashion Week is like a huge ball of light, attracting famous or unknown people from all directions. No one is willing to miss the event, whether for the pursuit of fashion or exposure. Apart from the designers' clothing releases and catwalks, the entire Fashion Week itself is a huge show to be continued. Chapter 205 Kiss. Additional update by Hallmaster Crossing 039. After finishing the catwalk, Shakru naturally wanted to treat Aishwarya to dinner. Dinner was arranged at the Jade Temple restaurant in Chinatown. Aishwarya was full of praise for the antique atmosphere, elegant and quiet atmosphere, and exquisite and novel dishes, and said that the trip was worthwhile. The first dish is a small soup cup. The crystal clear blue and white porcelain bowl is filled with tea yellow soup. It is rich in color yet clear. A palm-sized light yellow vegetable leaf floats on it, which is really beautiful. What kind of soup is this? Aishwarya looked at the soup cup in front of her curiously. Boiling water cabbage. Shakru smiled and gestured. Don't worry about the name for now. Give it a try and see how my taste goes. Aishwarya stretched out her delicate hand, took a spoonful of it, and put it into her mouth. Her beautiful big eyes suddenly widened and she exclaimed, "It's unbelievable, this taste, my god, I don't even know what to do." Described. The first dish may seem ordinary at first glance, but it is actually a famous palace dish that has been passed down for centuries. It combines extreme complexity and simplicity. It may seem like a simple vegetable soup, but it shows the excellent soup making skills. It is no exaggeration to say that such a famous dish prepared with complicated techniques can smell the fragrance all over the room. When you open the lid of the cup, it is fresh and soft in the mouth. It is not only 1,000 times better than ordinary delicacies, but also delicious. Shivaya almost swallowed it with her tongue. You can check the specific production process on Baidu, so I won't take up the word count here. In short, this dish is super troublesome. The following dishes include braised shark's fin, yellow croaker in a soup, braised prawns, etc. They are all top-notch traditional dishes that are full of color, flavor. They are exquisite and gorgeous. In the end, Aishwarya could only hold her belly and beg for mercy. These dishes are really great, but I really can't eat them anymore, otherwise I will get fat to death. Tomorrow you will see newspapers and magazines saying that Aishwarya is so fat and has given up on herself. Okay, but you have to give this meal a score. 10 points out of 10. 1 point at the minimum. 12 points. I must recommend all my girlfriends to try the food here so that they can also gain weight. Aishwarya said with a smile, making Shakru couldn't help but sigh that women are too thoughtful. Weird. This restaurant was recommended by Shakru from Amisha. Even though it was only 7 or 8 dishes, it actually cost thousands of dollars. However, Shakru thought it was worth it. The environment, service level and carefully prepared dishes were all top notch, so he paid the bill after enjoying the meal. It's also very enjoyable. Maybe it was because she had drank a little liquor just now, but Aishwarya, whose cheeks were slightly red, actually took the initiative to hold Shakru's arm and said to him affectionately, "Then what surprises are there next, my boss? How about this? Let's take turns to come up with tonight's show and see how good each other is. The loser in the end has to agree to a request from the winner." Shakru said in a somewhat narrow-minded manner, "I like a bet, but it must be a fair judgment." Aishwarya obviously had some happy and unrestrained blood in her bones, and she became excited when she heard about the bet. "Of course, I'm a gentleman. Okay, it's your turn to tell us where we are going." Shakru raised his palms and promised like a vow, "Haha, I will definitely win. Do you know which theater the best show on Broadway is at right now?" Aishwarya smiled proudly, as if she had already won in advance. As the capital of the world standing on the west coast of the Atlantic Ocean, New York at night does have its indescribable charm. New Yorkers who are accustomed to nightlife often say, night is still tempting, the night is still long. And Broadway is naturally the highlight of New York nightlife. From a geographical point of view, Broadway is a north-south thoroughfare in Manhattan, New York. Since the mid-19th century, Broadway has gradually become synonymous with American musicals. The 39 theaters located between 41st Street and 53rd Street are the essence of Broadway. Aishwarya is obviously very familiar with this place. She chose the Ambassador Theater on 49th Street. The performance was not classic plays such as Chicago, Phantom of the Opera, and Les Miserables, but a play called Rent. Compared with those traditional plays with exquisite stage decoration, gorgeous costumes and grand scenes, the background of this play is very simple, with stairs and a few tables as props, which obviously tests the actor's performance ability more. The stage play is different from the movie. There is no NG, and the actors not only have to sing, but also dance and have dialogue, and the most important thing is to have just the right performance point. I have to say that this is a very exciting play. It can be seen from the dedication and concentration of the audience. As the last treble string stopped and the actor made the last explosive freeze gesture, the whole audience stood up. Applause and praises came one after another, including Aishwarya and Shakru. "How are you, my dear boss?" Amidst the thunderous applause, Aishwarya leaned close to his ear and asked loudly, "Awesome." Shakru also admired this opera very much. The delicate and unrestrained performance fully demonstrated the excellent script and the talents of the actors. It also made him feel the unique art and culture of opera, which indeed has a unique charm. "Then, do you want to admit defeat?" Aishwarya said proudly. Being able to choose this place among the countless dazzling Broadway plays, instead of relying on those famous masterpieces, obviously fully illustrates her taste and vision. Shakru spread his hands and replied with a smile, "Okay, my queen, I'm at your disposal." Then, a scene that shocked Shakru appeared. Aishwarya actually threw herself into Shakru's arms, then hugged him passionately and kissed him. This kiss seemed to last for a century, until the souls of both of them were almost completely sucked out. I don't know how long it took for the two to separate. Aishwarya lay on Shakru's strong chest, panting violently, listening to his heartbeat. "It's late. I'll take you home. Don't move. Let me stay like this for a while." Aishwarya felt that Shakru was like a huge magnet, firmly absorbing herself, and could never escape. Although her ideas were not conservative, and she had had love experiences, she had always been entangled in the different religious beliefs between her and Shakru and his marital status. But now she no longer wanted to think about these things. Since she liked him, and he was good enough to her, why not go crazy? To be continued. Chapter 206. Amir Khan. It was already 2 o'clock in the morning, and Shakru went directly back to the luxury hotel rented by Kabiva at 15 Central Park West Avenue. Music when she entered the door, Kabiva was already lying on the bed, and Mustafina was taking a bath. Shakru picked up the half-asleep Kabiva. Under the teasing of his hands, that seemed to have infinite magic, this little girl almost fell asleep. Before he was fully awake, he fell into waves of intoxication. When Mustafina opened the bathroom door, wearing a bathrobe, and wiping her head, what she saw was Kabiva's slender and powerful legs tightly hugging Shaklu's waist, and Shaklu's strong and powerful body was completely displayed before her eyes. Staring at Shakru's charming body, Mustafina couldn't help but feel that her legs were weak, and a strange feeling surged out of her body. She could hardly stand, and reluctantly leaned against the bathroom door. Shakru did not look back, as if he could not serve as a prophet. He laughed loudly, picked up Kabiva, turned around and walked towards the bathroom. Kabiva's face was flushed, and she hugged Shakru tightly, but she treated his actions as if they were nothing. No impact at all. Shakru came to Mustafina's side in a few steps, held her chin with his hands, and kissed her painfully. "Okay, I can't write anymore, otherwise it will be harmonized." After returning to New Delhi, before Shakru could settle down in his office, Rajkumar came in and reported, "Boss, the preliminary preparations for Black Demon have been completed. I'm confident that it will be released within 2 months. Can make a finished product." The Black Demon that Rajkumar is talking about is actually the Plague documentary that Shakru accidentally mentioned to him before. For this film, Rajkumar took a lot of risks. The plague has not yet been controlled. Next, one person took medicines and vaccines to Surat, the place where the plague broke out, to collect first-hand information. Therefore, his preliminary work can be said to be extremely solid, and due to the special nature of this kind of documentary, the filming and production it doesn't take too long. So Shakru nodded and said, "Rajkumar, thank you for your hard work this time. Since you took the biggest risk this time, I will give you 10% of the profit from the movie this time, but this will never be allowed in the future. Again, you are the chief director of our Polaris. If something happens to you, what do you want me to do? What do you want the entire company to do?" Rajkumar replied gratefully, "Thank you, boss. I was too impulsive this time. But as soon as I heard your idea, I said I couldn't help it, and couldn't take it into consideration. But don't worry, I will definitely not be impulsive anymore." But I must not accept this share, otherwise it will leave a bad impression on other employees of the company, who think that, as long as they are willing to take risks, they will definitely gain something. In that case, the company will be really prone to chaos. Shakru pondered for a moment, and then agreed. Okay, but I will give you the money in other forms. Unexpectedly, Rajkumar waved his hand and said, no, boss. If you really want to reward me, then please forgive me for making my own decision and finalizing the starring role of this film without you at home. Shakru didn't pay too much attention to this kind of thing, but he still asked, who is the actor you are looking for? Oh, his name is Amir Khan. He is a tennis player. He once acted in a play when he was very young, but he did not do this business when he grew up. This time I met him while collecting information, and then I found that he was very suitable for this film, and he happened to be very interested in this subject, so I took it upon myself to sign him. After hearing the words Amir Khan, Shakru had no intention of listening to Rajkumar's next words. Although he hadn't watched many Indian movies, how could he not listen to Amir Khan's name? No. If Aishwarya Rai is an Indian actress who is famous internationally, Amir Khan is definitely the most famous actor in India. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a national treasure actor or a phenomenal actor. Not to mention anything else, at the age of 45, he can make a college student in his 20s come alive, which is definitely not something ordinary actors can do. This drama is the famous Three Idiots Make Trouble in Bollywood. Not only that, he is also an excellent producer, and he is the producer of the critically acclaimed Slumdog Millionaire. He is also a conscientious and courageous TV person, and he is the producer of the widely influential Truth interview he produced, and personally hosted this book. In India, he is the only one who dares to expose all the dark sides of India without mercy. The original intention of the novel is also closely related to this program, so I will describe it in detail later. He is also an excellent singer, and has been featured in Once Upon a Time in India, Destroyed for Love, and Stars on Earth. He sang the soundtrack himself. He was even a successful tennis player and once won the Maharashtra Tennis Championship. Shakru was too happy to have such a super potential stock under his command. How could he blame Rajkumar for this? So he said happily, my Rajkumar, you are so worried. You know that I have always believed in your vision. So you don't need to feel guilty about this kind of thing. By the way, now that Amir Khan has been finalized, let's see how he performs in this drama. If it's good, sign him. Well, we still need good actors very much now. Rajkumar was naturally grateful for Shakru's attention, so he solemnly promised, boss, don't worry, I will try my best to make this film well. After sending away the grateful Rajkumar, Shakru called his financial director Agrawal. After counting the recently available funds for activities, he called his friend Yi Zenli, whom he had just met in Mexico. Hi, dear Yi, long time no see. How are you now, Yi? Zenli was very enthusiastic about Shakru, a raw material supplier. Not bad, not bad. Even new old friends don't come here often. Why did you suddenly remember to call me today? Are you hungry for ant eggs again? I can't enjoy that thing, so you should keep it for yourself. I'm looking for you this time, to ask for your help. If you have anything to say, just say it. Do we still need to be so polite between us? I want to get a loan from a bank in Mexico. Can you help me? P.S. Due to plot requirements, the New York Fashion Week in the previous article was changed from February 1995 to November 1994. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused to you. Chapter 207. Mexico's Financial Crisis. What did I hear correctly? You, the big boss pandit, still need a loan. In fact, it's not surprising that Yi Zenli was surprised, because he knew Shakru's capital very well. Apart from other things, his Ganges pharmaceutical factory was a goose that laid golden eggs. How could it need a loan? And even if it needed a loan, it didn't need to go all the way to Mexico to get a loan. This matter sounded strange. Shakru thought for a while, and then explained, well, it's like this. I think there may be problems with the Mexican peso recently, so I plan to short it. Simply put, it's to lend pesos, and then exchange them for US dollars in the bank. When the peso depreciates, use the US dollars to exchange back to pesos and return them to the bank to make a profit. Peso is the currency of Mexico, but the currencies of Argentina, the Philippines, and Cuba are also called pesos, and the Mexican peso is the largest in circulation. There is a reason why Shakru chose to borrow money in Mexico this time, because in his memory, Mexico broke out a financial crisis from the end of 1994 to the beginning of 1995. With a sharp drop in the peso exchange rate and a collapse in stock prices. Since Mexico pursued an active import substitution development policy after World War II, it has gradually established an industrialized national economic system, which is called the development model of major emerging industrial country by the International Economics Community. In 1992, Mexico's per capita GDP reached $3,030, making it the second largest country in Latin America after Brazil. However, it was in this form that a financial crisis suddenly broke out in Mexico, which not only caused serious chaos in the country's financial market and the national finances were on the verge of collapse, but also affected neighboring countries and shocked the global financial community. For such a rare opportunity to make a fortune, speculators like Shakru naturally did not want to miss it. After listening to Shakru's explanation, Yi Zhenli generally understood it, but he was not interested in it. In his opinion, doing so was troublesome and earned little. In fact, he thought so, because it was estimated that there were few businesses that could make more money than trafficking. So he answered casually, "Your business is too troublesome. I don't understand it very well. Just tell me how much you want to borrow." "Well, let's borrow 100 million pesos first, and then I'll have to trouble you to convert all of it into US dollars for me." The Mexican peso implements an exchange rate system pegged to the US dollar, basically 33.5 pesos to $1. So 100 million pesos is about more than 30 million US dollars. "What do you mean by 100 million? Your appetite is too big." Shakru smiled bitterly. "There's no way. If you don't have a big appetite for this thing, there will be no profit at all. I might as well continue to sell Viagra. If yours is less, it's easy to deal with, but it's hard to borrow a large number like 100 million without using some collateral valuation," Yi Zhenli said with some embarrassment. "Don't worry, I won't make it difficult for you. I can use my Ganges pharmaceutical as collateral, as long as he can review and release the loan faster." Hearing Shakru say this, Yi Zhenli immediately had a bottom line. "You said earlier that you were willing to use your pharmaceutical factory as collateral. Then don't worry, there will definitely be no problem. I finally did a formal business once. Who dares to delay me?" Then he simply doesn't want to live. It must be said that Yi Zhenli's work efficiency is very high. It took less than half a month to help Shakru complete the loan procedures and successfully exchanged 100 million Mexican pesos into US dollars and did not charge any handling fees. Just asked Shakru to help him send 2 batches of raw materials. However, Yi Zhenli kindly advised Shakru, "Mr. Pandit, I have also learned about the financial knowledge and situation recently. To be honest, I think your deal is quite boring. Yes, the US interest rate hikes that began at the beginning of this year. From February to November 1994, the Federal Reserve raised the official interest rate 4 times, and finally raised it to 5.5%, which put a certain pressure on our Mexican financial market. Many short-term capitals did begin to flee in pursuit of high interest rates. In addition, due to the widening gap between the rich and the poor in the country and the increasing number of unemployed people, the imbalance in economic development between sectors and regions has become more and more serious, especially this year's consecutive assassination of presidential candidates and the General Secretary of the Institutional Revolutionary Party. But the decline in the stock market is not obvious. Even if there is a devaluation, it is difficult to see the large-scale devaluation you hope for, so I still advise you to think twice." Shakru shook his head and said, "Mr. Yi, you have studied finance for too short a time. In fact, the economic bubble and international balance of payments deficit in Mexico are already too large, and it is difficult to change. First of all, due to the long-term policy of pegging the peso to the US dollar, in order to maintain the overvaluation of the peso against the US dollar, imports have been encouraged and exports have been suppressed, resulting in a continuous expansion of foreign trade deficits and operating deficits. In addition, Trade liberalization has caused Mexico to face an unprecedented trade crisis after joining the North American Free Trade Area. Generally speaking, if a country's exports are mainly labor and resource-intensive products, due to the low elasticity of demand for such products, as the economic growth rate accelerates, exports will have a diminishing effect. At this point, Shakru suddenly realized that he was not discussing the issue with his financial colleagues, so he changed his words and said, "Also, you don't know what my name is in India, the heir of divination and sacrifice. My divination is never wrong." On Christmas Eve in 1994, late at night on December 19th, the new Mexican government suddenly announced that the new peso, the national currency, would be devalued by 15%, greatly exceeding the upper limit of 40 thousandths of the daily depreciation of the peso set by the previous government. This decision caused great panic in the market. Foreign investors frantically sold pesos and snapped up dollars, and the peso exchange rate fell sharply. On December 20th, the financial crisis officially broke out, and the exchange rate fell from the initial 3.47 pesos to $1 to 3.925 pesos to $1, a sharp drop of 13%. On the 21st, it fell another 15%. With the depreciation of the peso, speculative activities in the financial market further intensified. Foreign investors withdrew funds in large quantities, and Mexico's foreign exchange reserves fell sharply by $4 billion in 2 days. By the 22nd, it had fallen to 42%, which is extremely rare in modern financial history. Although Shakru knew that the price would drop by nearly 50% in 2 or 3 months, he didn't want to wait any longer. First, he was worried that things would get worse, and second, he had a plan to sniper in the near future. So on the 23rd, he started to reverse the peso. Just this one transaction, he made $12 million. To be continued. Chapter 208, The Devil Trader. Additional update by the Whole Master. Although more than $10 million is definitely not a small number, Shakru is not very satisfied. However, he has no other way to deal with this matter, because Mexico's financial resources cannot be compared with Japan or Russia, which he has sniped before. Mexico's foreign exchange reserves are not much. If he plays 30 times leverage like the previous 2 times, he will definitely be targeted by the Mexican officials, which is not worth the loss. After all, there are many ways to make money, such as another opportunity to make a lot of money soon, and this time Shakru is still targeting Japan. So Shakru called Nanako Matsushima. "Nanako, do you still remember your old skills now?" "Nanako?" Matsushima asked a little confusedly. "Old skills? Boss, I don't quite understand what you mean." "It's the job you did when we first met, stock index operation. It's been several years. Have you forgotten it all?" Shakru reminded. "How is that possible? Once you have acquired this skill, it is hard to forget it." "Boss, why did you suddenly think of asking this? Are you thinking of speculating in stock indexes again?" Matsushima Nanako exclaimed. Shakru nodded and said, "Yes, I think it's a good opportunity for me to come to Japan to make money again, so I want us to join forces again. But, boss, I don't work at the stock exchange anymore." Matsushima Nanako replied with some embarrassment. Shakru said with some laughter, "You silly girl, this time you will replace my job and become a big customer of Nomura, but you have to listen to my instructions for the specific operations. Do you understand?" "Oh, then I understand, but this time, boss, are you going to short or long?" "Of course, short, just like last time." Hearing this, Matsushima Nanako immediately advised, "Boss, Japan's economy has been very sluggish in recent years, and it has not yet recovered from the big stock market crash in the past few years. It can be said that the stock market has fallen to the bottom. You still want to short at this time? This is unlikely. On the contrary, you can make a little more by going long. Boss, you have seen my ability. Can I do such a risky thing without sufficient confidence?" In January, a big event will happen in Japan, which will have a catastrophic impact on the stock market, so don't worry, this business will definitely not lose money. By the way, don't go to Kansai, especially Kobe, recently, do you hear? Shakru reminded. "Ah, no way, you mean something will happen in Kobe in January?" Then I have to tell Sister Fujiwara, her family is from Kobe. Well, tell everyone you can. By the way, don't make the leverage too big this time. 5 times will be enough. Shakru reminded. Nanako Matsushima asked in surprise. Boss, didn't you always use 30 times leverage in the past? Why is it 5 times this time? Shakru explained. This time is different from the last stock market crash. The last stock market crash was operated by a backstage pusher, so no one would care about me, a small fish, even if I followed the trend and took advantage of it. But this time is different. The stock market fluctuations are purely caused by natural disasters, so no one should hype it up. If I'm the only one who uses 30 times leverage at this time, it will be too conspicuous. Although making money is important, safety is more important, so it's better to use a small one. Boss, I understand. I will do as you say. Shakru was very confident in Nanako Matsushima's ability to do things, but to his surprise, Nanako Matsushima called him the next day, and she said anxiously, Boss, are you sure you want to short sell? But now all the orders on the market are long. Especially Barings Bank is doing a 30-fold leveraged rise in the Nikkei. Isn't it too dangerous for us to short sell at this time? Shakru thought carefully and asked, Barings Bank? Was it done by Bahrain's Singapore branch? Yes, boss, you know about this, too. Shakru snorted. If I wasn't busy speculating on the Nikkei index this time, I really wanted to make a profit from Barings stocks. You see, after the incident in Kobe this time, Barings Bank should go bankrupt. Boss, are you kidding? That's Barings Bank. Even the British royal family is its client. How could such an old bank go bankrupt? Nanako Matsushima's face was full of disbelief. The collapse of Barings Bank is a classic case in the entire financial industry, especially in the courses of finance majors. Before the incident, not to mention Nanako Matsushima, even the world's top financial experts dared not imagine such a thing. Barings Bank is one of the oldest banks in the UK, with a glorious history of 233 years. It is also a special bank, where the British royal family opens accounts. There are as many as 5 hereditary titles, which can be regarded as a world record. The direct cause of Barings Bank's bankruptcy was that Nick Leeson, a futures manager of Singapore Barings Company, misjudged the direction of the Japanese stock market. In January 1995, Leeson was optimistic about the Japanese stock market and bought a large number of futures contracts in Tokyo and Osaka, hoping to make a large profit when the Nikkei index rose. Who knew that there would be unpredictable events, and the Hanshin earthquake in Japan hit the recovery momentum of the Japanese stock market, and the stock price continued to fall. The final loss of Barings Bank was as high as $1.4 billion, while its own assets were only a few $100 million. The huge loss was difficult to make up, and this once glorious financial building collapsed. On February 26, 1995, the Bank of England, the central bank of the United Kingdom, announced that Barings Bank was not allowed to continue trading and would apply for asset liquidation. 10 days later, the 233-year-old bank was acquired by Ine Group at a symbolic price of £1. This means the complete collapse of Barings Bank. But Ine Group continued to operate under the name of Barings Bank. Because Shaka knew about this, he didn't care about what Nanako Matsushima was worried about, and he felt sorry that Nick Leeson's final crazy result ruined the entire bank. P.S. The process of Barings Bank's collapse is actually quite representative, but the detailed process is too long, so I will post it in the related work, and it won't take up words in the main text. In addition, you can watch the movie Devil Trader, also known as Devil Salesman, starring Ewan McGregor, which is about this incident. Chapter 209 The World 039 S number 1 Playboy. On January 7, 1995, at 5:46 in the morning, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake occurred on Awaji Island in Hyogo Prefecture, southeast of Kobe. The focal depth was 20 kilometers and the vibration acceleration reached centimeter seconds. The resulting crustal movement moved cities such as Osaka by 4 centimeters in different directions, causing the highway between Osaka and Kobe to break and collapse in places. Thick cement pillars were broken from the roots, and more than 500 meters of road surface were thrown aside. The Shinkansen rails were deformed, 0 trains slid off the track, and dozens of bridges fell. The earthquake severely damaged the subway, cut off the city's water, electricity, gas, and telephone lines, and paralyzed lifeline projects the death toll of this earthquake reached 5,466, of which more than 4,000 were crushed to death and suffocated, accounting for more than 90% of the death toll. More than 30,000 people were injured, hundreds of thousands were left homeless, and the affected population reached 400,000, which was destroyed. There are more than 100,000 houses, and the total economic losses caused exceed $100 billion. What deserves special attention is that once the life engineering and public facilities of modern big cities are severely damaged by earthquake disasters, in addition to direct losses, the indirect impacts and losses will also be extremely huge and immeasurable. Point affected by the earthquake, the Japanese stock market plummeted 5,000 points in 3 days. Shakru, who had been keeping a close eye on the Japanese stock market, immediately instructed Matsushima Nanako to start selling orders, taking this opportunity to make a big profit. But when he wanted to backhand again, when he was going long, he unfortunately found that it was a little late to start. Many speculators who smelled the fishy smell had already poured into Japan. Seeing this, Shakru was too lazy to compete with them for a small amount of money and decisively withdrew his capital and left. When Shakru, who had made a lot of money, was thinking about where to go to relax, his new friend Dinero, an Italian playboy, called him. "Shakru, do you want to go to Australia?" Relaxed Shakru was somewhat surprised by Dinero's invitation, so he asked, "Why do you remember going to Australia? I remember you were in Italy." "It's like this. There is a friend who wants to get to know you, so please let me invite you to his place as a guest. I plan to entertain you well," Dinero explained. "Well, your friend knows me?" Shakru asked tentatively. Dinero shook his head and replied, "To be precise, he admires you. Ever since he used your wellgun, he has admired you as a heavenly being. He has always wanted to get to know you, but he just didn't have the chance. Last time when I came to Italy to visit, as soon as I heard that I knew him, I immediately told me to invite you to his place no matter what, and to entertain you well." After hearing this explanation, Shakru was a little dumbfounded. "So that's it. Then this friend is really a sweet-tempered person. However, although my medicine is more effective, you can't take it all the time, otherwise it will still hurt your body. It's okay, that guy is as strong as a cow and can survive no matter how much medicine he takes," Dinero replied nonchalantly. "Then, if you are in such good health, why do you still need to take wheelgang?" Shakru asked curiously. Dinero sighed. "Shakru, you don't know. This guy is a super playboy. There are countless beauties in the villa. Do you think he can do it without taking medicine? Haha, no way. Calling yourself a playboy in front of your little prince Tissipani would be overestimating your abilities," Shakru joked. Unexpectedly, Dinero's reaction was quite serious. "In front of others, I may still be worthy of the word playboy, but in front of this guy, I'm nothing. To be honest, he is the one I know. A true playboy, brother Dinero. When you say that, I'm really curious, who is this real playboy?" "His name is Travis Beanon, and he is an Australian tobacco merchant. However, he is not well known outside the circle, so you may not know him. But don't worry, after you meet him, you will definitely recognize his evaluation," Drona said confidently. With great curiosity, and because he had just finished 2 big jobs recently, Shakru really wanted to relax, so he agreed to Dinero's invitation and flew to Australia on his private jet. Super Playboy Beanon's super villa is located on the Gold Coast on the eastern coast of Australia. It is a holiday tourist destination in Australia. It has bright sunshine, continuous white sand beaches, blue and transparent water, and romantic palm groves. People who come here for vacation have added a lot of vitality and dynamic here. The heart of the Gold Coast is the surfer's paradise signature hotel point. As soon as Shakru got off the plane, he saw Drona and a tall, muscular man with a beard waiting on the tarmac with 3 gleaming sports cars and several sexy beauties wearing 3-point suits. Drona, who was wearing a flowery shirt, walked over first and introduced both parties. "Shakru, this is the world's #1 playboy, Mr. Travis Beanon. who I'm telling you about point Benin. This is the man you have always wanted to meet, Mr. Shakru Pandit, the producer of Man's Gift Vergang. It was only then that Shakru finally remembered who this Benin was. It turned out that he was particularly familiar with the two clues of Drona's admiration and Australia. Now that he saw Benin himself, especially when he saw that with 3 gleaming sports cars and 3-point beauties, Shakru was completely sure who the Benin in front of him was. It is not an exaggeration to say that Drona is the world's #1 playboy, because many of this guy's behaviors are too outrageous and too famous, especially after the rise of social networking platforms. This guy uploads some photos and videos showing off his wealth almost every few days. Unlike some local tyrants, who only know how to show off cars, bags, and cash, he mainly shows off women, all kinds of women. Of course, he also shows off cars and famous brands. This guy really doesn't treat women as human beings, but there are really many women who are greedy for money and are willing to be ruined by him. PS. I just read the sentence that Chang Shuxin, the author of UZUI, lamented on Weibo. Although UZUI is still alive in the book, UZUI is dead in reality. The reason is that there are too many pirated resources, which can easily lead to investors being dissatisfied with the returns, and then interrupting the filming of the 3rd season. In fact, this situation is even more serious in online articles, so here I beg for subscriptions again. After all, writing with enthusiasm alone cannot last. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Wine Pond and Meat Forest. PS. The wine in this chapter is real wine, but the meat, is not meat in the traditional sense. After listening to Dinero's introduction, Benin laughed and shook Shakru's hand and said, Mr. Pandit, I have wanted to meet you for a long time. To be honest, your invention is so great. I think all men in the world should thank you. Although Shakru has heard such praise many times, he is still a little uncomfortable, so he answered awkwardly, I'm also a man, so I naturally understand what we men need most. As long as everyone is satisfied with my product, and can always be majestic in front of women, that is the best thank you for me. Benin patted Shakru on the shoulder, and said to Drona, I said Mr. Pandit must be our kindred spirit. If nothing else, just for this sentence, that a man should be majestic in front of a woman, it is worth a good drink for us. Come on, Mr. Pandit, please get in the car. I specially organized a super party for you today. I hope you can enjoy it. Oh my god. Mr. Benin, is your Lamborghini gold plated? Shakru, who had just followed Benin and Drona into the car, couldn't help but exclaimed. Benin replied with a smug look on his face, yes, I like the feeling of golden glitter the most, so I specially asked someone to deal with this car. How about it, isn't it dazzling? This is a true story, not something I made up. To be honest, Shakru really couldn't agree with the taste of this Navo Rish, so he simply praised it against his will, and changed the subject. But I think your beautiful driver is more attractive to men. The drivers of the 3 cars are all hot beauties wearing bikinis. Haha, people of the same kind are people of the same kind. This is absolutely right. Cars are not as fun as women. Drona added. Shakru, when you get to Benin's villa later, you will find that it is full of bikini beauties. Female, because Benin once said that his villa only welcomes one kind of guests, that is, beautiful women wearing bikinis, and there is no limit on the number, the more the better. I also welcome friends like Mr. Pandit and Brother Drona, but I'm afraid that you are too busy and don't have time to come to my place to play. As the few people talked and laughed, the car drove to a villa that looked like a castle. As soon as the car stopped, Benin got off and made an invitation to Shakru and said, Mr. Pandit, welcome to my chocolate factory. Although it is called this name, this villa has nothing to do with chocolate or factories. It means that this castle is to him like the chocolate factory is to Charlie. Charlie and his chocolate factory is a very famous fairy tale movie. After entering the castle, Shakru found that what Drona said was right. There were indeed many beauties gathered in this luxurious villa. Although some were blonde, some were black, and some were red. They were all tall and hot, wearing bikinis. Seeing this scene, Shakru couldn't help but exclaimed, "My god. Mr. Benon, are there so many beauties in your castle every day?" Benon shook his head and replied, "Of course not. Today is to welcome Mr. Pandit, so I found some more beauties to play with us. Usually there are 7 or 8 beauties here, but the turnover is very large, because I don't force them. If they like to stay here with me, they can stay here. If they don't like it, or want to go out to play, I won't stop them, but there will always be new beauties coming." At this time, a blonde beauty in a black bikini walked up to Benon, and then Drona introduced, "Shakru, this is Benon's wife Tessa, and she is the only one you can't see here today. You can do anything you want to do with other beauties, as long as you want and can. Don't worry, these beauties will not refuse you, but will be very happy for you to find them. Party is for happiness, Mr. Pandit. Don't worry, the beauties here are all here to have fun, so you don't have to worry about anything. Just have fun." Afterwards, Shakru learned from Drona that, if these women were favored by Benon, he would give them bonuses or precious jewelry, brand name clothes, etc. when he was excited and comfortable, and if they were not favored by him, they would leave. Anyway, the Gold Coast is a famous leisure resort. There are many beauties who come here for vacation. There will always be people who come here to make a quick buck. At least they can enjoy the luxurious swimming pool and other facilities and high-end accommodation and food environment for free. Some women even come here specifically to find Benon to make money. However, for big parties like today, Benon usually gives bonuses, generally $500 per person per day, and there are other rewards for good performance. Of course, this good performance is actually to accompany Benon or his guests to do what they want to do. So when these women heard that there was a party organized by Benon, they were very excited and took the initiative to come and participate. This made Shakru sigh that foreign women are open-minded, but on second thought, in fact, our country's Heisha and Shenyang is not much better. As Benon led Shakru towards the living room, he asked, "Mr. Pandit, which country's food do you like to eat? I can let the kitchen prepare it, but I have to tell you in advance that I don't have Indian food here." The chef of the dish, "I've long been tired of eating Indian food every day in China. When you come here, you have to do as the locals do. You can just do whatever you usually eat." Shakru replied quickly and politely. Unexpectedly, Benon's wife Tessa smiled and said, "Mr. Pandit, you may not be able to accept what Benon usually eats." Shakru said a little unconvinced, "I really don't have any food taboos. If you don't believe me, ask Drona. I even ate ant eggs in Mexico some time ago. What other ingredients are there that I can't accept?" But when Tessa explained Benon's favorite way to eat, Shakru thought it would be better to order the food himself. It turned out that this guy's favorite was actually the Japanese female body dish. Although he didn't have it, the Japanese have come up with so many tricks, but they still can't accept this kind of eating. Shakru that is stained with sweat and body odor. As for female body exuberance, you can search it on Baidu, or you can read Rebirth of Japan 1946 for a detailed description. Chapter 211, Erotic Chessboard. Since Drona was there, Shakru ordered the classic Italian dishes, grilled quail with vegetables, grilled lamb chops with spices and pasta. While waiting for the food, Benon suggested, "Mr. Pandit, how about we play a game of chess?" Shakru nodded casually and said, "Okay," but what he never expected was that the chessboard Benon used was completely different from ordinary people. He just clapped his hands and called over 4 beauties who were sunbathing from the edge of the swimming pool outside. After a brief explanation, the 4 under Tessa's guidance, the girl knelt down in the living room. This action made Shakru very baffled, but then he understood the purpose of doing so, because he saw that Benon actually placed a chessboard on the delicate and toned backs of 2 beautiful women kneeling side by side, and then he sat on the back of a beautiful woman kneeling alone, and then he pointed. Another beautiful woman kneeling opposite him, on the other side of the chessboard, said to Shakru, "Mr. Pandit, come, please sit down. If you search the Benon chessboard on Baidu, everyone will see this picture. Is this possible? Isn't this going to crush her?" Shakru said in a dilemma. Unexpectedly, the kneeling beauty said with a smile, "Don't worry, Mr. Pandit, it's okay. You must weigh less than Mr. Benon. Even if he is okay, you will have no problem. Benon also nodded and said, I usually play chess like this, so don't worry, it will be fine. Shakru had no choice but to slowly sit on the beauty's back, but he did not dare to sit down. He just borrowed a little strength, and most of the support was given to his legs. When Benon saw him like this, he looked like this, and said with a smile, it seems that our Mr. Pandit is still a little nervous. Mariah, go and help Mr. Pandit relax. So, a tall beauty who was originally standing behind Benon walked up behind Shakru. Then she slowly unhooked her orange bra and pressed her plump breasts against Shakru's. On the back, it started to rub gently, and at the same time, it used its small mouth to gently caress the back of Shakru's neck and hallux. Due to this stimulation, Shakru could no longer sit still as before. With such movements, he sat firmly on the back of the beautiful woman beneath him. Benon laughed loudly when he saw this and said, is this right? You should relax when playing chess. Come on, Mr. Pandit, let's start playing chess. Mariah, help Mr. Pandit take off his coat. Under this stimulation, Shakru's chess moves were naturally messy, and he was defeated by Benon soon. Fortunately, dinner was served at this time, and Shakru quickly took the opportunity to say, okay, let's eat. I'm really no match for Mr. Benon. Maybe it was because Mariah was very satisfied with Shakru's service just now, so Mariah was still serving him during the meal. In order to have a peaceful meal by himself, Shakru led the conversation and asked, by the way, I just heard that Benon likes to eat on the bodies of beautiful women. Do you usually have any tricks for eating? The way he eats it is the same. He squeezes cream and the like onto himself, and then we lick it and eat it at the same time. How about it, Mr. Pandit? Are you interested in giving it a try? Mariah said with a smile. Although Shakru was very interested in things like biting, he still couldn't accept this kind of gamma play. Fortunately, at this time Dinero stood up and said, Benon, it's almost time. Let's go tonight. It's time for the party to begin. Benon glanced at Shakru and found that he had almost eaten here. He raised his glass and walked to the venue. First, he motioned to the beauty who was responsible for controlling the music and lights. After the exciting music and ambiguous lights came up, he shouted, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's night of indulgence officially begins. After a group of people hugged each other and danced to the music, Benon suggested, it's not interesting to dance like this. How about playing a small game for a while? What do you want to play? Dinero thought for a moment and then said, while everyone's physical strength is still good, let's play the stamina consuming stinger car bombing first. The following gamma play including the stinger car bombing game is from Haitian Shengayan. The author has never experienced it personally, and I welcome your corrections. If I don't understand what I wrote, the so-called sting car bombing is to find 3 cars, place them side by side, and draw a horizontal line in front of the car. Benon, Shakru and Dinero are assigned to 1 car each, and everyone can be free. Choose a beautiful woman to cooperate with you. The beautiful woman will lie down or lie on the back cover of the car. Every time the man sprints, the car will naturally move forward. Whoever's car crosses the horizontal line first wins, or in this process, whoever goes soft and ejaculates first during the process loses. The loser not only has to give $10,000 to the winner, but also pays $3,000 to $5,000 in compensation to the beauty who cooperates with him. But generally the winner also he casually gave the money he won to the beauties who cooperated with him. After all, no one who could play this game was short of money, so the beauties were very enthusiastic about participating in this game. After listening to the introduction of this game, Shakru was speechless. These guys were really good at playing. Compared with them, he, a playboy with more than 24 lovers, was simply a good young man. But since he was already here, it would be too hypocritical if he didn't play. As for the choice of person, Shakru chose Mariah, who had always been by his side. This woman was nearly 175 centimeters tall, which was a perfect gun mount. Mariah was very happy to see Shakru choose her, hugged him and gave him a kiss, and said happily, Mr. Pandit, thank you so much. Don't worry, although I have never played this game, I will definitely work hard to make you win. Before Officially pushing the cart, each beauty must bite her master hard first, otherwise she will not be able to push the cart for a while. After biting hard, the beauties get on the car. For the sake of fairness, this time each beauty lies on the back cover of the car. After the three men put their legs on their shoulders, the whole game officially begins after the hostess Tessa gives an order. P.S. This chapter is written by me like an internal fan, and I don't know if it can pass the review. Everyone should read it quickly, otherwise it's hard to say. Chapter 212 Russian Roulette. It has to be said that Binan's tall and strong body really takes advantage in this game, and Shakru and Rona, whose waists are not as thick as Binan's thighs, seem to be at a disadvantage. But everyone is playing this game just for fun. No one is going there for the 20,000 yuan, and this is Binan's home court after all. So Drona uses this game as the beginning of tonight's carnival and indulgence, and there is also the possibility that to please. Actually, it's easy to push when the car is in neutral. Don't think this game is difficult. You must know that the human body grids used in these games are not very good. Therefore, after Shakru and Drone looked at each other, they began to concentrate on enjoying the beauties beneath them. When Binan roared and knocked the car out of the horizontal line amidst the cheers of a group of beauties nearby, Shakru and Drona both clapped their hands and celebrated his victory, and Binan also knowing that these two guests were trying to save themselves face, they naturally waved their hands and stepped aside to rest. They did not disturb the two defeated opponents. After all, they were still at a critical moment and had an arrow on the string. If you don't let it out, you won't be able to hold it in until you die. After being launched, Shakru fell on the recliner, panting heavily, and allowed Mariah to clean him up with her small mouth. The reason why she was so enthusiastic was not because of Shakru's true charm. It was that big, but Shakru also gave Mariah the same amount of dollars. When he bet Binan point, after resting for a while, Binan said with a smile, "Two gentlemen, would you like to come up with something exciting, so that we can move on to the next project?" Drona pretended to be unhappy and said, in front of the inventor of Welgun, "If you take other refreshing things, isn't this a slap in the face? Can Mr. Pandit not have some special effects collections on him? And try to eat as little as possible of that thing in your hand. I'm the one who sells it, and I know the problem very well." Binan slapped his forehead and laughed at himself. "Oh, look at my brain. Really, brother Drona is right. Mr. Pandit must have a collection here. Let us open our eyes and see it today." Shaklu said with a wry smile, "I really don't have any collections. I only have a few copies of Virgon produced according to my own constitution. In fact, the difference is not big, that is, it is more effective and has less side effects. If you are interested, you can give it a try and wait for me. When I return to India, I will go to the experts and ask if there is any effective treatment in this area." This was not because Shakru was deceiving them. He wanted to go to his own Shaktism sect to check it out after returning to India. If you dare to call him by this name, you must have some unique skills in this area. Point. After taking the medicine and resting for a while, the three of them started a new game, Russian Roulette. Although this game has the word Russian in the name, it actually has nothing to do with Russia. The origin of the name is related to playing with a revolver. Related to suicide games, the specific gamma plays that a group of beauties wear blindfolds and kneel in a circle with their heads facing in and butts facing out. As the music starts, three men hold down one of the beauties and start to enter from behind. After the song is played, they will switch to another beauties next to them. Continue working on your body until someone launches first, and you are out. Point. To be honest, Shakru is very repulsive to this game because he doesn't like sharing a woman with other men. However, after watching other game projects such as Guess the Fruit, Depth Bomb, and Crazy Bird, after waiting for the abnormal gamma play, I won't explain these gamma plays. You can know how to play Haitian Shengayan on Baidu. Shakru felt that this Russian roulette was relatively clean, and he had already thought of an evasion method. Point. As soon as the music started playing, Shakru followed Mariah's instructions and pounced on Venezuelan red-haired beauty Claudia, who had just arrived with her the day before yesterday and had never had a relationship with Binan. Shakru secretly lamented that Venezuela is indeed the country that produces the most Miss Worlds. This figure and skin are so amazing. It was worth breaking the rules for her once. Soon a heavy metal rock song with a strong rhythm ended. According to the rules of the game, it was time to change the player, but Shakru held Claudia tightly and shouted while working hard, "No more, no more. This woman is so cool. I admit defeat. I accept punishment. It's her tonight. I have to have a good time with her." Benon and Drone looked at each other, then shook their heads and smiled. "Okay, since Mr. Pandit, you like this woman so much, let her serve you well tonight. And we will come down when you are satisfied. Let's drink together." While holding Claudia sideways, Shakru thanked, "Thank you for understanding. Then I will go upstairs first." Then he said to Mariah, "Come on, my dear Mariah, let's go up together." Drone laughed wildly from behind and said, "It's over. 1 against 2. I feel like Shakru won't be able to come down tonight." After 2 days of indulgence in Australia, Shakru and Drona bid farewell to Benon together and sincerely invited Benon and Drona to visit India when they have time. Both guys were also impressed by what Shakru had said before. "I was very interested in the suggestion of playing with women in the temple and said I must go and try something new when I have time." Just after Shakru returned to New Delhi, the Aum Shinrikyo sarin gas incident that shocked the world broke out in Tokyo, Japan. This terrorist incident caused 12 deaths, 14 lifelong disabilities, and 5,500 injuries. It can be called the largest terrorist incident in Japan's history. Aum Shinrikyo, Japanese Aum Doomsday Cult, is a Japanese cult organization founded by Asahara Shoko, formerly known as Matsumoto Chizo, in 1984. Asahara has a dark mentality, hates society, and hates humanity. In just a few years after his establishment, he recruited nearly 10,000 believers, established more than 30 branches in Dodges, and developed 4 branches overseas. The Japanese police resolutely cracked down on this terrorist incident. The Japanese National Police Agency arrested Asahara Shoko, the founder of Aum Shinrikyo, for murder and attempted murder. At the same time, they attacked more than 130 bases of the cult across the country and arrested more than 40 leaders and believers. Naturally, Shakru had no sympathy for this crazy lunatic, but he wanted to use this incident to persuade his old friend Ibrahim. Chapter 213 Female version of Weird Gang, Helmsman Ziwi. Brother Dawood, have you seen the Aum Shinrikyo incident in Japan? Do you feel scared? Ibrahim nodded and said, "How could you not have seen such a big thing? I really didn't expect that the Japanese government would be so cruel and show no mercy at all. It is trying to destroy the entire Aum truth in one go. Teach me to pull it out by the roots. How could such a thing be considered humane?" This was an act of violence that shocked the world, and it killed and injured so many people. No government would tolerate it. Otherwise, does this country still want to lose its face? Well, brother, what you said makes sense. Speaking of which, it was fortunate that you stopped me last time. Otherwise, if I had allowed my temper to play such a trick in Mumbai, I would have ended up even more miserable than Mayan. After all, my men are not brainwashed like his followers and are willing to die for him, Ibrahim said with lingering fear. So, no matter how arrogant we usually are, we must remember one thing. We cannot challenge the government's bottom line. Otherwise, we will die without knowing how. While Shakru was discussing the Aum Shinrikyo incident with Ibrahim, one of his old acquaintances, the American Pfizer pharmaceutical boss Sadaya, who had robbed him of the cash cow, was furious in the laboratory and pointed at a professor. His nose yelled, "Drive Henry, is this what you call a breakthrough? Is this a so-called mature product? What kind of epoch-making new drug is this?" The silver-haired Dr. Henry straightened his back and replied, "Yes, this is an epoch-making new drug that has made a breakthrough. You must know that drugs to improve male sexual performance have been available for hundreds of years, but to improve female sexual performance I dare say that this is the only medicine that has the ability until now. But what I want is a fast-acting drug that is comparable to sildenafil, not something like yours that needs to be taken continuously for a month to take effect. 2 things with the same effect. One takes effect in 10 minutes, the other one takes a month. Tell me, if it were you, which one would you buy?" Sadaya said angrily. Dr. Henry shook his head and explained, "Boss, I have never said that flibanserin has the same effect as sildenafil. The mechanisms of action of these two drugs are completely different. Sildenafil is used to treat disorders, while flibanserin is used to improve women's sexual life. The level of physiological needs is to increase the neurotransmitters in the brain that help stimulate stimulation, mainly including dopamine and norepinephrine. The former is related to the reward and pleasure center, and the latter is responsible for controlling attention, so flibanserin is a kind of neurotransmitter. Medications for treating lower female disorders. Before he could finish speaking, Sadia interrupted. Please, I didn't invest so much money just for you to research and treat some damn female sexual disorder. What I want is a method that can be compared with Western medicine. Sildenafil is as effective as Virgone for women. Do you understand? I understand what you mean, but after my research, I found that the drug you need does not exist at all. Generally speaking, about 70% of men have spontaneous syndrome, and the number of women is as low as 1020%. The so-called spontaneity means that when we see a sexually attractive image or person, we will stimulate sexual desire in the body. The response is aroused, for example, only when your partner kisses you, because of sexual needs. Therefore, when talking about sex, if you only care about the surging sexual organs, you are obviously only concerned about the final moment. Feet, but are blind to previous biological, psychological, and social factors, and will never be able to grasp the slightly mysterious woman point, and every woman is unique, just like a fingerprint. Every sexual experience of women relies on specific situations, and situations are rooted in daily life, which in turn affects the arousal, intensity, and onset of sex. Therefore, if we only understand sex from the perspective of sexual behavior, it is like understanding the love of a couple from wedding photos. In the end, I accidentally discovered that flibanserin can improve female ejaculation disorders. I think you can't let your investment go in vain. So I took it upon myself to invest all my energy and manpower into flibanserin. Studies have proven that it is very effective. Of course, the only regret is that the results are a little slow. Dr. Henry explained slowly. Hey. Sadie pointed at Dr. Henry and said you for a long time. In the end, he had no choice but to sigh helplessly and then turned around and left, because although Dr. Henry asked him on top of the female version of Wolfgang, I'm very disappointed, but as an authority in the pharmaceutical industry, I will need to rely on Dr. Henry in many places in the future, so I dare not offend him to death at this time point. After returning to the office, Sadia ordered his secretary, go find me some guys who are smarter, have better acting skills, and look more like doctors of medicine. I want them to help me remove this damn fluoride. Banserin sells it to that Indian named Shakru. The secretary asked in surprise. You mean Shakru Pandit who sold flibanserin to Heng Pharmaceutical? But can he buy it? Sadia snorted coldly and said, I'm not sure whether he will buy it or not, but I'm 100% sure that he will be tempted. You know how much money he made on Wolfgang. Now as long as we design it well, let's arrange a play for him to make him believe that we have developed a female version of Wolfgang. Do you think he will be interested? The secretary nodded and said, well, what you said makes sense, boss. Since he has already tasted the sweetness and taken advantage of us once, he must be very confident in our R/U0026D capabilities. Now he has the opportunity to take advantage of us for the second time, and he will definitely take the bait. Hey, this time we can just take revenge for the last time. All the R/U0026D expenses for these two times will come over. No, the plan this time is to arrange to R/U0026D personnel to abscond with technical information. It would be unreasonable if the appetite is too big. In fact, I don't care how much money I can cheat from him this time. I mainly want to see him lose face once, so that people in the circle will not always say that I'm blind and give away a hen that lays golden eggs. This time I will let this Shakru, who is known for his accurate vision, fall into a big fall. P.S. This chapter is an extra chapter for the new helmsman's easy wee wee. Chapter 214 Righteous Words. A few days later, Two Americans dressed as academic elites came to Shakru's Heng medicine and specified that they wanted to meet the boss, Mr. Pandit. It happened that Shakru was discussing with researchers in the laboratory that day. The main reason for the improved version of the medicine was naturally that he felt that when he went to Benin this time, he found that the effect of wheel gang was still a bit weak for some men who had a greater demand, so he wanted to improve it. Of course, his own demand here is not small either. /U003C /U003E novel point. Therefore, after Shakru heard that someone had a new drug similar to sildenafil, he was naturally interested in meeting them. As soon as they met, the two men introduced themselves. Hello, Mr. Pandit, we are Tom and Jerry from America. Well, hello, please sit down. I heard that you have a new drug similar to sildenafil, Shakru asked after inviting them to sit down. Tom nodded and replied, yes, but this drug is a little different from sildenafil. It is a drug specially developed for women. We call it the little pink pill privately. After hearing this explanation, Shakru found it very interesting, so he asked, oh, the female version of Woolgang is a bit interesting. But don't tell me which company or laboratory you are from. This was developed by you two at home. Researching and developing drugs is an extremely expensive and equipment intensive project, and it is definitely not something that ordinary people can do at home. So that's why Shakru asked this question. Tom and Jerry looked at each other and then said hesitantly, actually, we are from Pfizer's new drug research and development laboratory. Oh, it turned out to be from Pfizer, so why isn't it now? Shakru asked calmly. At this time, Jerry said bitterly, it's not Henry, that guy, who has always had problems with us and made trouble for us all day long, but he also doesn't think about how his new drug could have been developed without us. Also there was Stia, who was also a fool and knew how to protect Henry blindly, so we both resigned from Pfizer in a fit of anger. In order to retaliate against Stia and Henry, we decided to share the information about the female version of Vilgan that Pfizer was developing for sale to you. Shakru was not anxious to ask for specific information. Instead, he asked about another thing. Oh, that's it. No wonder you came to me. Now basically everyone knows that the person Pfizer hates the most is us, Heng Pharmaceutical. But as far as I know, Pfizer's R/U0,02060 personnel must hand over some research materials and data after resigning. So where did your information come from? You don't need to worry about this. Anyway, we can guarantee that the information we give you is absolutely correct. Tom said firmly. Shakru rubbed his chin and pondered for a while and then said, I don't care whether it is correct or not, because I have no interest in your female version of Woolgang at all. Hearing this sentence, Tom and Jerry were shocked. Before coming, they imagined various possible situations and were prepared to deal with them. However, they did not expect that Shakru could not even look at it. I didn't read it, so I just said that I wasn't interested in this new drug at all. Yes, so Tom stammered and said, Mr. Pandit, you'd better think about it carefully. There must be no one in the world who knows how valuable this Wilton is better than you. How could you not be interested in this female version of Woolgang? The answer is very simple, because I think the market for this thing is not big. Women's and men's bodies are different, and the excitement is not so obvious, so there will be very few people who can use it. Shakru explained slowly, oh, Mr. Pandit, you are in this business, why don't you have this association? Is this thing obviously aimed at male customers? No matter which beauty you fall in love with, as long as you get such a pill into the water, then give her a drink and all the problems will be solved. Think about it, how can the market for this kind of thing be so small? Jerry said with a vulgar expression. Jerry originally thought that Shakru, who was surrounded by a group of beauties, would be a like-minded person. Unexpectedly, he stood up and said righteously, the main purpose of my business, in producing the male version of Woolgang, is not all for making money, is to relieve the unspeakable secrecy of some male compatriots. And if this female version of Will is as useful as you say, then this thing must not enter the market. Otherwise, how many good girls will be harmed? You can't do this kind of thing to help others. Seeing Shakru's righteous words, Tom couldn't help but complained harshly in his heart. You said you, a sex drug seller, are pretending to be a big-tailed wolf here? You are also helping evildoers and harming good girls. You want to if you really have such a heart. You can sell something like Welgun. Although he was complaining in his heart, he was still making a last-ditch effort. Mr. Pandit, don't listen to Jera's nonsense just now. In fact, this is just like a knife. It can be used in the hands of a good person. Doing good and using it in the wrong hands means doing bad. There is nothing wrong with the knife itself, right? It is true that there is nothing wrong with the knife itself, but I will never buy this thing. Don't waste your time with me. Find someone else to cooperate. Shakru continued to refuse unmoved. Seeing Shakru being so determined, the two of them could only sigh and left in despair. As soon as they left, Pretty, who had been standing behind Shakru, gave a thumbs up and said to Shakru, "Boss, you were so handsome just now. This kind of business that is specially designed to harm women is just another way to make money. We are determined not to do it," Shakru said proudly. "Of course, your boss is so conscious. How could he do such a thing that would harm people? Okay, go make a cup of coffee for your noble boss." Looking at Pretty's happy back, Modi asked hesitantly, "Boss, is this really the reason you rejected this business? How could it be possible?" "The biggest reason I rejected it is because I don't believe there is such a medicine in the world," Shakru said word by word. "Here I would also like to advise friends who have had evil thoughts. So far, there is really no fly water in the world. It's all nonsense. The health product stores sell things that cheat people. The real effective ones are sleeping pills and drugs. However, I also advise everyone not to use this method to pick up girls because it is too low." To be continued. Chapter 215. Card takes action. But boss, Pfizer does have the ability to develop this kind of drug. After all, they developed the sildenafil we are using now. This is the best example. Moody asked hesitantly. Shakru shook his head and said, "Moody, that's not how things look. Think about it. Pfizer's Sidar is not stupid. He has already suffered a loss from me. How could he not be vigilant? Strengthen your vigilance. If there is such a drug, the possibility of it being released, even if it is just a semi-finished product, is very low, but that's not the most important thing. Yes, the biggest reason why I refused is because I have never heard of such a thing as an aphrodisiac for women. Whether it is a divine oil from India or maca from Peru, at least there have always been similar semi-finished products for men. But have you ever seen it used by women? No, never, so I don't believe it at all." After walking out of Shakru's Heng medicine, Jerry said to Tom dejectedly, "Tom, what do you think we should do now? This damn pandit refused to buy it after he died, and he didn't even bother to look at it. At first glance, how can I explain this trip? I originally thought I could make a profit on both ends, but now it's a waste of time and I don't even know if I can get my travel expenses back." Tom sighed and then comforted, "Okay, don't be depressed. Otherwise, let's go to other pharmaceutical companies to try our luck. Anyway, there are many pharmaceutical companies in India, and there may be one who is jealous of Gang and makes a lot of money. So I bought this information on impulse. Maybe Tom Cat was really lucky. Before he could try his luck at another pharmaceutical factory, someone came to talk to him that night. What surprised him even more was that the person who came was actually an American. Well, to be precise, it should be said that he is an Indian who looks very American. This person is none other than Zio Okada, who has always had a grudge against Shakru. Speaking of which, his entrepreneurial path in India was also full of twists and turns. After his failure in pursuing Amisha, he planned to build a factory in India, but just after, when he was struggling to find a project, he happened to catch up with the Great Plague sweeping across India, so he was frightened and ran back to the United States for refuge. After the plague was over, he returned to New Delhi, but at this time he found that his original ideas were very somewhat unrealistic. Originally, he thought that there would be many low-level intellectuals with little talent in India, but when he searched carefully, he found that he could not find them at all. Because those who can receive higher education in India are generally rich people from the upper castes, while those from lower castes who can receive higher education are either domestic slaves of the upper castes themselves, or they were attracted by the upper castes after becoming famous, or else they just ran away to countries like the United States and never came back, as was the case with Leo Okada. There were not many fish left that slipped through the net, and it was almost impossible to find those with suitable projects. In the end, he only managed to recruit a group of technicians at a high price point in desperation. Little Kada had no choice but to turn to Shakru, planning to steal some high-tech project information from the Ganges pharmaceutical factory's laboratory, so that he could both make money and take revenge. It could be said to kill two birds with one stone, but he has never been able to bribe the core personnel, so he has never obtained useful information. But today is an unexpected surprise for him. Because Tom and Jerry came here this time to embarrass Shakru, they started to spread the news. After arriving at the Ganges pharmaceutical factory, they were afraid that others would not know that they came from Pfizer, so the cleaners bribed by Little Card. Naturally, that's when I got the news. When Little Card heard that Shakru actually turned away these two guys who had defected from Pfizer, he was immediately overjoyed and laughed loudly. Shakru, this idiot, can't even do this kind of door-to-door business. No, I really don't know what he thinks. Is it stupid to make money? The cleaner he bribed cautiously advised. Boss, I think it's better for you to be more cautious. After all, Mr. Pandit didn't even take this business. I dare not say anything else, but when it comes to business, Pandit sir, I have never suffered a loss, so I think we should still. Before the cleaner finished speaking, Little Card interrupted. He is just lucky. Do you know? What does he know as a guy who has never been out of India or went to university? A little advanced management experience, and he doesn't even have a business vision. It's just a waste of such a good product. Like, will gangster fall into his hands? If it had been left to me to run it, it would have spread all over the world. Okay, you've done a good job in this matter. With this money, please notify me in time if there is any news like this in the future. After sending the cleaners away, Little Card took the initiative to visit the hotel where Tom and Jerry were staying. You two are Mr. Tom and Mr. Jerry who came from Pfizer in the United States, right? Introduce yourself. I'm from New York, USA. My father runs several large supermarkets in New York. I'm planning to return to China to start a business. I just heard that you two have a new drug information, so I would like to ask if you are interested in selling it. Mr. Card, right? I want to ask you where you learned that we have information for sale and that we got it from Pfizer? Tom asked cautiously. Little Card pretended to be mysterious and said with a smile, you don't need to worry about this. As long as you know that I also opened a pharmaceutical factory in New Delhi and I have the ability and interest to buy your new drug information, that's fine. Actually, everyone is here to make money, so who is selling this thing to? Although Tom was very suspicious of Little Card's background, his last sentence touched Tom. Yes, since the current primary task of fooling Shakru has failed, it doesn't matter who he sells this information to. Anyway, this medicine has no development value, so he smiled and said, Mr. Card is right. Business is for making money, so let's discuss the details. Although Card was very eager to get this information, he did not sign a contract or pay the money right away. Instead, he took a copy of the preliminary information back and asked the researchers he hired to start analyzing it. The conclusion was that this research direction for female dopamine and norepinephrine was indeed correct, but the specific situation still needed to see the detailed report before a conclusion could be drawn. Of course, Tom would never give him this follow-up information without paying. At this time, Little Card began to use his business talent to bargain, and finally bought all the information at less than half of the offer price. However, what he didn't know while he was complacent was that Tom and Jerry were actually very satisfied with this price. Chapter 216 What's wrong with being 52 years old? Additional update by the Hall Master. Just when Little Cad was happily getting the information on flibanserin and was about to start developing a drug, Shakru was faced with a troublesome thing that made him extremely angry but anxious. In fact, it was very simple to say, and it is also very common in India, but its nature is extremely bad and its impact on Shakru is also very large. For this matter, Shakru decided to turn to Ibrahim for help. Brother David, I have something to ask you for help this time. You must help me, and the sooner the better. Ibrahim was a little surprised by Shakru's urgent look, because he had known him for so long. This was the first time he had seen him so anxious, So he asked, "Brother Shakru, don't be anxious, speak slowly. Who provoked you? Hey, don't mention it. My agent in Denmark took his family to New Delhi for a trip in the past 2 days. As a result, his aunt was killed by a bunch of gangsters last night." Shakru said with a sigh. Ibrahim asked with some confusion, "What was given to you? Why didn't I understand? Was it robbed?" If it was just that he was robbed, then this matter would be easier to handle. But the problem is not only that he was robbed, but he was also raped by these beasts. What? Being raped? Oops, brother Shakru, I'm not talking about you. Others don't know what our street security is like in New Delhi. How can you not know? How dare a woman go out alone at this night, wandering around? Why don't you look for trouble? Now those guys are crazy, but they dare to attack you no matter if you are Indian or foreigner, high caste or low caste. Have you forgotten what happened 2 years ago? The next gangster bus case, Shakru explained helplessly. How could I forget? Don't forget, I'm also a witness. Now, no matter where the guests or friends come from, I will arrange for my people to be responsible for them, itinerary and personal safety. And when I first arrived in India, I repeatedly explained the security issues, but this time, firstly, the person in charge of the reception was negligent at night, and secondly, the old lady felt that I was already 52 years old, so I probably wouldn't have encountered such a problem of being violated, so I went out for a walk alone with a small bag at night. As a result, I was kidnapped with a knife and taken to a secluded place just 2 blocks away from the hotel. She was not only robbed of all her belongings, but she was also violated by these beasts in turn. This was a total of 9 people, and they violated her for more than 3 hours. Hearing this explanation, even Ibrahim, a porn giant, couldn't help but be stunned. He waited for a long time before hesitantly asked, "Did I hear you right just now? You mean this poor woman who was violated? Already 52 years old?" Shakru nodded and said, "Yes, if you don't believe it, you can look at her passport. She was born in May 1943, so she is 52 years old now." Ibrahim waved his hand and said, "I don't doubt her age, but I think this thing is incredible. How could these guys be able to attack a 52-year-old woman? If she was 25, it's understandable. Well, they couldn't see clearly because it was dark, right? Didn't you see it clearly? How could you not see it clearly? If you said you didn't see it clearly in 3 or 2 minutes, it is indeed very possible, but that was more than 3 hours. It lasted from 7 o'clock in the evening to about 10 o'clock in the evening. It's so long. Can you still see the time clearly? To put it bluntly, even if you can't see clearly, you can feel it, right? And there were 9 people present at that time. If one person is blind, how can all 9 be blind?" Shakru said extremely angrily. Ibrahim looked a little embarrassed and said, "Well, you are right. These guys have gone too far, and they are too embarrassing. There must be a bottom line in this. Don't worry. This matter has been taken care of by me. As long as there is a description of the appearance of one of them, I guarantee that I can get rid of these beasts within 3 days, and I will deal with them first." Although Ibrahim's guarantee made Shakru feel at ease, he thought about it and said hesitantly, "Well, brother Dawood, as long as you can find everyone, you don't need to." The brothers under my command took action, because if they were the subordinates of several other big guys in New Delhi, then if you take action directly here, wouldn't it be tantamount to causing trouble for you? In fact, the victim's nephew had already called the police last night, and today he has put pressure on the government through the embassy. However, we all know the efficiency of the government and police, and we can't count on it at all, so we are in trouble. Brother you. Before Shakru could finish speaking, Ibrahim interrupted him with a wry smile. "I mean, brother, don't mess with us bastards. Although most of what we do is illegal, but we will never do such embarrassing things like rape and sexual intercourse, let alone rape an old lady. If word spreads, the brothers on the road will not laugh to death. So don't worry, this must have been done by a bunch of low-life gangsters. No matter how I deal with them, there won't be any trouble. And even if it is really the brother of a big boss who did it, I don't need to take action. I just need to tell him, and he will clean up these guys and throw them into the police station." To take a step back, if this was done by the people under my command, then I would personally cut off all 9 of them. Originally, Ibrahim was furious and righteous, but at the end, he seemed to suddenly think of something, and said to Shakru with a sly smile, "Hey, Shakru, do you think these guys can't control themselves after taking your Viagra? 9 people in more than 3 hours, an average of more than 20 minutes per person. These guys have good endurance. I don't believe they didn't take drugs. Go, go, go. Don't talk nonsense. I sell Viagra, not drugs. How can I get horny after taking it? According to your theory, I can sell millions of boxes of Viagra a year. How many rape cases will I have to brew? Besides, is more than 20 minutes a long time? I see that you are old, so your health is not good. How about I send you a few boxes of enhanced version to replenish you? PS. This chapter is for the Hall Masters easy wee wee. Yesterday was the helmsman. Today is the Hall Master. Classmate Ziwi upgraded very quickly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, SHAKRUN-039, S Challenger. Facts have proved that Ibrahim's work efficiency is still very high. It only took 1 day to catch one of the gangsters from a slum, and he also followed the clues to catch the remaining 8 people. Looking up, as expected, these 9 people were all unscrupulous little gangsters. The most surprising thing was that 3 of them were actually underage. The youngest was only 14 years old. What was even more surprising and speechless was that when the victim lead that he had AIDS, in order to avoid being ravaged, the leader actually said, "You have it? It's okay, we have it too." The brutal and inhumane torture that lasted for more than 3 hours began. This incident may be because the victim felt too embarrassed and was embarrassed to talk about it, but when the criminal, who was the first person arrested, was interrogating the whereabouts of the others, everyone unexpectedly learned about it. Because the guy who said this was so mean, Ibrahim didn't stop for a moment and almost beat the guy to death. However, he couldn't resist for long and died in prison before the formal trial. So in the end only 5 people went to court to be tried. The 3 minors went to juvenile court. A few days after handling this matter, Shakru suddenly received a call from Tassim, whom he had not contacted for a long time. At this time, Shakru had not gotten up yet, so he picked up the phone in a daze and asked, "Tassim, Brother M, what's the matter so early?" "Shakru, didn't you read today's newspaper?" Tassim asked without answering. Shakru was a little excited and replied, "I haven't woken up yet. Where can I read a newspaper?" Unexpectedly, Tassim didn't care at all. Instead, he urged, "Then read today's Times of India. Someone is challenging your position as India's #1 fortune teller." As soon as he heard this, Shakru immediately became energetic. Although he knew very well that he did not know how to do divination at all, he could not tolerate others questioning it, so he pushed Sharapova, who was sleeping next to him, and ordered, "Go and get me a copy of today's Times of India." Sharapova was very attentive in her work. Not only did she quickly bring the newspaper over, but she also opened it directly to the part that Shakru needed to read. Shakru glanced at the report and couldn't help but dumbfounded. It turned out that this was a story called Shaka's Prophet claimed that a few nights ago, India's 19th century King Singh had a dream for him, saying that there was a treasure of more than 1,000 tons of gold buried 20 meters underground in the palace where he lived. After waking up, Shaka confirmed the authenticity of his dream through his unique prophecy. So he reported the good news to the Indian government and the Indian Archaeological Institute. The Archaeological Research Institute not only believed Shaka's words, but also planned to carry out excavation work at the palace in Odiakla village, Unnao County, Uttar Pradesh, in the near future. Uttar Pradesh does not mean that this state is in the north of India, but the name of this state is Uttar Pradesh. Weird, right? Since there are many similarities between prophecy and divination, a reporter asked when interviewing Shaka, "Compared with you and the famous Shakrupa Pandit, who is more powerful?" "More powerful, Shaka's Answer was, well, what Master Pandit predicts is usually disaster, but what I predict is wealth. Although this answer was not very explosive in the eyes of reporters who were afraid of chaos in the world, it became Shaka's challenge to Pandit, so Shakru felt dumbfounded. So Shakru said to Tassim, "Brother Tassim, when did you start taking quotes out of context and exaggerating like these gossip reporters?" Tassim chuckled and said, "I thought you hadn't woken up just now, so I wanted to talk about some exciting topics to refresh you." Shakru smiled and said, "What's exciting about this kind of fabricated news? It's fake at first glance. The funny thing is that the Archaeological Research Institute actually takes it seriously and plans to dig for treasures. Isn't this nonsense?" "What?" Tassim said disapprovingly. "The reason why this archaeological institute can take this matter seriously has something to do with you." Shakru was surprised and said, "What does this matter have to do with me? It's not me who said there is a treasure in Anao, but there are indeed priceless treasures in the Padmanabhaswamy temple that you personally organized the search for. You don't know how regretful the government was after this incident. It is said that we were searching for it. At that time, they were still thinking about whether to nationalize the temple, but it was a step too late, and the result was immediate. They watched helplessly that the priceless treasure no longer belonged to them, so how could they not be excited when they heard the clues about the treasure again? How could they not want to get it quickly? And it is said that the central government and Uttar Pradesh are now in charge. The government is about to start a war over this undiscovered treasure." Tassim explained slowly, "No, that's not the case. The treasure is still missing. If we start a fight now, how embarrassing would it be if there is no treasure?" Shakru said with a dumb smile. Tassim shook his head and said, "That's not what they are thinking about. What they are thinking now is that if there is a treasure in Anao, it will be too late to dig it out and then think about the distribution. So it must be done in advance. Speak clearly and clarify the conditions." Shakru snorted coldly and said, "Okay, then let's watch the excitement on the side and see how they end up." "Brother Shakru, are you so sure that there is no treasure in Anao?" Tassim suddenly changed the subject and asked. Shakru nodded and said, "Definitely not, 100% not." Shakru was not talking nonsense because this incident was a famous farce in his previous life. Shakru just didn't remember it before, and now seeing this report, he immediately recalled the relevant memories of that year. Tassim still insisted, "You haven't even done divination yet. It's a bit arbitrary to say so. Why don't you try divination again?" "Don't bother so much. I already did divination for this year's fortune at Christmas, and there is no chance to make a fortune from the soil this year." "Brother Tassim, if you believe me, don't join in the fun." "Well, then I'll listen to you once. Anyway, even if I want to join in the fun, the cost is quite high. P.S. I think this treasure incident is more interesting than the plot of the Padmanabhaswamy temple last time. Of course, this is also a true story, but it didn't happen in 1995. Chapter 218 Prophecy vs Divination. After dealing with Tassim's phone consultation, Shakru received inquiries from other friends one after another, such as Ibrahim, Mukesh, Leo Patala and so on. In fact, from Shakru's true intention, he disdained to pay attention to such news that was taken out of context and sow discord. But what he never expected was that someone would actually hit him with the same idea point on this day. Shakru had just arrived at the factory. Before he could enter, he was blocked by a bunch of reporters outside. They all wanted to put the microphone into his mouth and asked, "Pandy Mr. Te, as a master of divination, how do you plan to deal with the challenge of divination, Mr. Pandit? Do you think Annao's treasure this time will be greater than the treasure in Padmanabhaswamy temple, Mr. Pandit? Why didn't you predict in advance that there would be treasures in Annao? Is it really like Master Shaka said, that you only predict disasters?" Although he has been interviewed a lot since time travel, Shakru is still not used to this feeling of being surrounded, especially today's topics are so provocative. So he said impatiently, "Anna, there is no treasure in Ao. It's just nonsense." As soon as these reporters heard this sentence, they became excited, as if they had been beaten to death, and asked in a louder voice than before, "Mr. Pandit, is this your reply to Master Shaka?" Mr. Pandit, have you already divined the situation of Unnao's treasure, Mr. Pandit? Are you sure what you just said was not angry? To be honest, as soon as he said those words, Shakru regretted it a bit. He didn't know this Shakru, so he could just stay by and watch the fun, regardless of whether he was true or false, or whether he would be in the future. How to end it, but after he thought about it, he said it as he said it. Anyway, he didn't say anything wrong, so why should he be afraid of him? So he simply said, I have just read Master Shaka's interview record. His words did not mean to challenge me, and what I just said was only about the Unao treasure. I don't want the government to do useless work. Waste of taxpayers' contributions is not a response to Master Shaka, so please report it truthfully, and do not cause unnecessary misunderstandings and wrong associations between me and Master Shaka or other readers. Although Shakru said that the relationship between himself and Shaka was not one of challenge and retaliation, obviously the reporters did not think so, or even if they knew what the truth was, they still did it for the sake of sales and bonuses. This kind of newspaper spreads hatred between two people. To everyone's surprise, the prophet Shaka became furious after seeing Shakru's interview and directly challenged Shakru. Since Master Pandit thinks that my prediction is nonsense, it is in vain. It's a waste of taxpayers' money, so do you dare to accept my challenge? Let's take this Unao treasure as the content of the challenge. Regarding Shaka's challenge, Shakru responded scornfully, of course I dare to accept the challenge, but the question is, what do you bet on? I can casually take out $1 million as a bet, but you can accept it. I bet with my reputation in the prophecy world. If I lose, I will quit automatically and never speak any words again. Do you dare to accept this kind of bet? Shakru snorted coldly and said, huh, do you think you can stay in the prophecy world if this prophecy fails? Take a bet on something that is bound to be lost. Master Shaka. How cunning. Although Shakru's words were sinister, they were true. Therefore, even though Shakru was so angry that he reportedly lay in bed for a whole day, in the end he just made a few harsh words and never mentioned them again. It's about the bet. Mukesh was a little puzzled about this matter and asked Shakru, in my impression you are not such an aggressive person. Why are you so reluctant to treat this Shaka this time? Is it really true, as the outside world says, colleagues are enemies? Shakru shook his head and explained, Brother Mukesh, it's not like you don't know my background. With my current capital and reputation, do I need to improve myself by beating him? I just want to watch this time. If you are not used to this Shaka talking nonsense and wasting money, if there are more people like this and more things like this in Unao who will believe in divination and prophecy in the future, are you sure there is really no treasure in Unao this time? Mukesh asked hesitantly. Shakru nodded and said, don't worry, it's definitely not the case. Okay, then when the excavation starts, let's go over and watch, and then slap them in the face in public. While Shakru and Shaka were bickering, the central government and Uttar Pradesh had reached an agreement on the Unao treasure. The Archaeological Institute of India and the Geological Survey jointly formed a search team and headed to Dodiakla village in Unao County. The remains of the ancient palace began to be excavated. But what's interesting is that before they arrived, nearby villagers and people who came from other places who were looking for money or their lives had already started digging secretly. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that the government's archaeological team hadn't arrived. Dig out some of the gold first. Anyway, it is said that there are thousands of tons of gold underneath. As long as you dig out a little, you will get rich. The government will naturally crack down on this kind of behavior. You should know that anything valuable under the ground belongs to the country. At most, you will be given 500 yuan and a banner. Don't even think about touching anything more, otherwise you will be arrested for stealing cultural relics. However, these guys' behavior is not completely useless. Although they didn't dig up gold, some of them dug up some gold and silver coins used during the reign of King Sin. Seeing this situation, Shaka, the excavation consultant, said proudly, look, the gold coins have been distributed to Sin, which means that there is definitely a possibility that there is gold underneath. The reason why these treasure thieves did not dig up the gold is because they dug in the wrong place and did not dig deep enough. You must know that King Sin buried the gold 20 meters underground. In addition, the geological changes over the past 100 years and the weight of thousands of tons of gold, the gold will only sink deeper and deeper, so these treasure thieves can't dig it up. But it's a good thing that they didn't dig it up, otherwise these things that belonged to the country would have been stolen by these guys. Chapter 219 Opening the Eyes. Brother Luhan, how was your rest last night? Are you still used to living here? Moody said enthusiastically to Luhan, the new director of Gang No. 1 Branch Factory, who came to Gang Main Factory for a study. To Luhan replied with some fear, very good, very good. Then he said with some embarrassment, if I'm not afraid of your jokes, Brother Murdy, this is the first time in my life that I have lived like this. A high-end hotel has a bathroom, a shower, a refrigerator, an air conditioner, and a bed that's so comfortable, I couldn't even imagine it before. Moody laughed loudly after hearing this and said, Brother Luhan, you don't have to be like this. 4 or 5 years ago, my life was not as good as yours. At least there is no discrimination in China. Everyone's life is similar, but in China it's different. In India, people with lower castes are destined to be inferior. If I hadn't met our boss, I can't even imagine what I would be like now. When Luhan saw that Murdy was sad, he quickly changed the subject and said, by the way, Brother Murdy, why didn't you see the boss? Oh, the boss went to Uttar Pradesh, and there was a guy who dared to challenge the boss, so the boss went to see it in person. Murdy explained casually. Luhan asked curiously, challenging the boss? What are you challenging the boss for? Then nothing will happen to the boss, right? How could something happen to the boss? Let me tell you, I have been with the boss for so many years and I have never seen him make a mistake. In less than 5 years, he went from being penniless to opening businesses all over the world. You say this is something that ordinary people can do. So, anyone who goes against the boss is seeking death. Then, he hesitated for a moment, and then said, as for the challenge, I will explain it to you when I have time, because there are too many things that need to be explained in this matter. According to your buzzwords, this is more like us. The thing with Indian characteristics is that the boss will not be back for a while, so I specially told you to entertain you well. Luhan quickly said politely, Brother Murdy, I'm not an outsider. There is no need to bother you to delay your work to entertain me. I just came to our main factory to study. I will take care of food and housing. By the way, last night let's cancel the room. I think it's quite expensive. Although the boss is rich, we can't spend it recklessly. Oh, you are the director of the branch factory now. This position is higher than mine. I should entertain you as part of my share. And you don't have to worry about spending money on the boss, because the hotel you are staying in now is our boss. It's just that it's not open to the public yet and is in the preparation stage, so we don't have to spend money to live in it, and it's empty anyway. At this point, Murdy chuckled and said, also, let me tell you, you haven't realized the real beauty of our hotel yet. I saw you were too tired from flying last night, so I didn't take you there today. I'll take you to open your eyes tonight. Brother, what other horizons can be opened in this hotel? Luhan was confused. Murdy didn't answer. He just smiled and said, you will know when the time comes, but you have to be careful. Don't let the nose bleed then. It will be embarrassing. After dinner in the evening, Luhan was led by Murdy to the performance hall on the 2nd floor. Luhan looked around like a country bumpkin for a long time, and then asked, Brother Murdy, why is it so big? Are there just 2 of us in the hall? Didn't I tell you? It's not officially open yet, so naturally there are no customers. Murdy explained disapprovingly. Luhan was still a little confused. Then what are we here to see? While pushing Luhan to the front row seat, Moody explained, let's watch the show. Now all the teams are taking the time to rehearse the performances after the opening, so there will be a joint practice every night these days. It's rehearsal. Let's just come over and open our eyes. Oh, that's it. How many programs are there in total? Luhan asked. That's a lot. The boss's requirement is that each team must have more than 7 mature programs that can be used for performances. The hotel has a total of 7 or 8 teams. You can count how many programs there are. So many. Luhan exclaimed. Moody smiled and said, is this much? You have to know that there will be performances every night in the future. We can't let the audience watch the same program all the time, right? Not long after the performance officially started. Although Luhan had already been mentally prepared for this foreign show, he was still shocked when he actually watched it. Not to mention anything else, the opening dance alone was. It made him a little embarrassed to open his eyes seeing Luhan's embarrassed expression. Murdy couldn't help but joked, "I have to say, this Russian woman has a good figure. You are all tall, taller than me, and you looking at how big her eyes are, how thin her waist is, and how thin, long, white and straight her legs are. No wonder our boss is the best." Hearing what Murdy said, Luhan was very surprised and asked, "No way, brother Murdy, are you saying that these Soviet girls who do lap dances are all with our boss?" Moody waved his hand and said, "How is that possible? How could the woman our boss has met still let her come out to dance like this? She has been raised directly for a long time. It is said that during the first performance for the boss, there were two with the hottest figures. On the spot, the boss asked me to go backstage to provide special services, and then I quit the dance troupe and was transferred to the secretariat." "Where is the secretariat?" Luhan asked stupidly. Murdy rolled his eyes at him. "Brother, you seem to be quite smart. Why are you confused now? What kind of place can the secretariat be? Anyway, their job is to serve the boss. The treatment there, hey, anyway, all the beauties and the performance team hope to go to the secretariat, perhaps." Because he felt it was inconvenient to talk too much about the boss behind his back, Murdy changed the subject and said, "By the way, I heard you mention the thigh dance just now. It seems that you have seen this kind of dance before." Luhan shook his head repeatedly. "I haven't seen it. I really haven't seen it, but I heard people bragging about it. It is said that in the past 2 years, because the Soviet Union has been poor, some Soviet girls have been paid to dance thigh dances, and do that. What else? Have you done it too?" Murdy teased. Luhan waved his hands repeatedly. I don't have so much money. It is said that they are used to entertain foreign and southern rich people." Chapter 220 Opening Eyes, Part 2. "Then do you want to have some meat tonight? Which one do you like? I'll ask her to come to your room tonight." And Murdy continued to tease Luhan. Luhan shook his head like a rattle and refused repeatedly. No. Then he whispered, "I heard that Soviet women smell like foxes." Murdy laughed and said, "Oh, you even know this?" "I don't even know." Luhan asked a little strangely. "No way, brother Murdy, haven't you ever eaten meat?" Murdy shook his head and said, "No one is allowed to bully the girls in the performance team, either marry, raise, or spend money normally. I have a wife at home, but I don't want to talk about this, and their prices are so high." "The price is high? You mean they are all selling it too?" Luhan asked tentatively. "Of course, they are here to make money, but not everyone can buy them, because after being packaged by our hotel, their quality has been improved." Okay, let's not talk about this anymore, and hurry up and watch the show." In fact, what both of them said is not accurate. The girls who performed the opening dance on the stage were not from Russia, but from Ukraine. In the whole of Eastern Europe, the country with the highest concentration of beautiful women is Ukraine. Compared with Russian beauties, Ukrainian girls are more beautiful. Delicate. They not only have slim figures and beautiful faces, but also have whiter and more delicate complexions. They are not like common white girls with enlarged pores, which can only be seen from a distance, but not up close. The more famous ones are the former Prime Minister of Ukraine Yulia Tymoshenko and the beautiful prosecutor Natalia, who was particularly popular some time ago. Friends who like to watch football can recall the beautiful women who could be seen everywhere on the streets of Ukraine during the last European Championship. This dance troupe was carefully selected by Tok Takhanov and sent to Shakru. Everyone's figure was very hot, and the scale of their movements was even more amazing. Luhan's face turned red when he saw it. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to look up. After finally waiting for the Ukrainian beauty to finish dancing, Luhan just breathed a sigh of relief, and then he saw another group of girls with sexy clothes and hot figures running up, but this time they were not Ukrainian beauties, because from their looks you can tell from their skin color that they are all Asians, but their figures are no inferior to the white beauties just now. and some are even better. So Luhan asked curiously, "Brother Murdy, which country are these beauties from? Japanese or Korean?" Murdy glanced at Luhan meaningfully and then replied with a smile, "You are wrong about everything. They are neither Japanese nor Korean, and they are not even beauties." Hearing this answer, Luhan became a little unconvinced. "Brother Murdy, I agree that you said they are neither Japanese nor Korean, but how could they not be beauties? Look at how beautiful they are." Murdy nodded and said, "They are beautiful, but they are not women." Then he leaned into Luhan's ear and whispered, "Actually, they are just like us. They are all men." "How is that possible? How could they all be men?" "Brother Murdy, don't lie to me. Let's not talk about how they look. Just look at those breasts. They are so big, so round, and so bulging. How could they not be women?" Question mark. I have been with someone before," Luhan retorted unconvinced. "Have you ever heard of a ladder boy?" Murdy asked without answering. "Shemale? Just like Danfang Bubei?" Luhan asked without knowing why. Bridget Len's most classic image, The Swordsman, The Undefeated, was released in 1992. Although there was no official version introduced in the mainland, there were many video halls hidden in alleys at that time, popularizing to us the movies of the United States, Japan, and Hong Kong. Advanced culture, the Invincible East? What is the Invincible East? It is obvious that Murthy, an Indian, does not watch Hong Kong movies. So he had to explain patiently. The so-called ladder boys are men who have taken estrogen since childhood and perform full-time as a means of living. In fact, they can be found in every country, but they are more concentrated in Thailand. In fact, even if you look at them, they look better than women. They want women, but in fact they still have men's things underneath, and you can tell whether they are male or female as soon as they speak. After all, the voice cannot be changed. Luhan was dumbfounded after hearing these words. It took him a long time to recover, and he said in shock, this. There are so many wonders in this world, and there are actually men who are willing to abuse themselves. I feel this is worse than being a eunuch in ancient China was miserable, but could they make money? Of course, why else would they make themselves like this? Let me tell you, there are a group of rich people who like them to be both boys and girls. Stop it. Stop it. Brother Murdy, please stop talking. I'm going to vomit if you continue. Well, I'm going to go out and smoke a cigarette. I'll come in when this is over. After Luhan finished speaking, he hurriedly ran out. Luhan went out and smoked 3 cigarettes before he calmed down from the nausea he had just felt. He was dragged back in by Murdy. However, after re-entering, he was surprised to find that several pipes were lifted up on the stage, so he was curious. Asked, "Brother Murdy, what are these pipes for?" "This is a pole used for pole dancing." Murdy explained calmly. "What is pole dancing?" "Dancing with a pole? Doesn't that look like Sun Wukong? But the pole is too long. Who can dance? Sun Wukong? Oh, that's Hanuman, your Chinese god. Oh, the way he plays with the stick is different. You'll see later." These actors were specially invited by the boss from the United States. They danced so sexy. As the two were talking, 4 beauties who only wore bras and 12 centimeters high heels came up. They wrapped their legs tightly around the steel pipe and performed various sexy movements such as handstands, rotations, and head shaking. Especially in one of the movements, when stretching their legs, their whole body seemed to stick to the steel pipe like a wave, as if they had no bones. That is, wave sticking to the pole. In 1995, pole dancing had not yet been correctly recognized by the public. It was basically concentrated in nightclubs and adult clubs in Europe and the United States. It had not yet become popular in Asia, so Shakru specially went to the United States to hire several people at high salaries. Luhan originally thought that this was the ultimate in dancing to seduce people, but he didn't expect the following performance to make him even more dumbfounded. He almost couldn't believe his eyes. Chapter 221 Differences. P.S. We will write about other performance items such as the fragrant wine glass dance and the like when it opens. We will stop here for now. Luhan stayed in New Delhi for 3 days before waiting for Shakru to come back, so he immediately went to the office to report to his boss's office. Shakru dared to challenge his prediction because he had just suffered a setback in Uttar Pradesh. Teacher Shaka, so I'm in a good mood. Because things turned out as Shakru expected, the excavation team dug out nothing in the number 2 trench. Finally, a senior official from the Archaeological Institute of India said bluntly, we should talk about Unnao this time. The county incident serves as a lifelong lesson about how there can be shortcuts in the archaeological profession. The Archaeological Institute will never carry out excavation work for some people's dreams in the future. At this time, there was no need for Shakru to beat up the drowned dog. The media, which were adapting to the situation, had already sprayed Shaka's blood and praised Shakru, who had been questioned by them before. Shakru felt that there was no sense of achievement in stepping on Shaka anymore, so he confessed to Tassim and returned to New Delhi. Therefore, when he saw Luhan, he was in a very good mood and greeted him warmly. How are you, Mr. Luhan? How have you been these past few days? Are you getting used to the food and accommodation? Luhan nodded repeatedly and said, everything is fine. Manager Moody has taken special care of me these days. Well, that's good. Then Shakru said with an evil smile, I heard that you have met a Vietnamese girl in a dance troupe in the past 2 days, and they are getting along well. We just met by chance, but because she can also speak Chinese, we got along well with each other. Luhan replied with a very embarrassed look. It's a coincidence that, after watching the rehearsal that day, Luhan accidentally picked up a ring in the corner of the stage. After searching, he found that it was lost by a girl on the Vietnamese stage while performing. Because these two people, they got to know each other. Maybe there was Moody's instigation behind it, or maybe the two young people were relatively lonely, or more likely, because of some other more practical reasons. In short, the relationship between the two developed very quickly, and they were just short of the last step. Didn't make it past. Why don't you just take her back? Anyway, your salary is enough to support her. Shakru advised meaningfully. Luhan hesitated for a long time, and finally shook his head and said, let's forget it. My family is tough enough to accept a foreign wife. Fortunately, I haven't ruined her innocence, so let's forget it. Okay, now that you have thought it through, that's good. Now let's talk about business. How is the current situation in the factory? Shakru asked, changing the topic. Generally speaking, it's pretty good. All orders are completed on time with quality and quantity guaranteed, and the workers' work attitudes are also pretty good. Luhan replied slowly and hesitantly. Oh, what is it? Shakru asked. Luhan said with an embarrassed look, since the last downsizing, there have been more rumors about our factory outside. Seeing Luhan's embarrassed look, Shakru knew that it was definitely not a good thing, so he advised, what are the rumors? Tell me. Don't worry, I'm not the kind of petty person. According to you, as the old Chinese saying goes, there is no wind without fire, and there is no sound. I just want to see if there is anything we have done wrong and need to improve. After hearing what Shakru said, Luhan boldly said, actually, it's nothing. I feel like those guys who were fired by us, and some who want to enter the factory but can't, are talking nonsense behind our backs. It's just that a capitalist factory like ours is not as good as a factory in Japan. If you ask for expulsion, you will be fired without showing any mercy. If you do this, you won't be able to retain people's hearts at all. Shakru snorted coldly and replied, this is nonsense. The factory I opened with my own money cannot be compared with the national enterprises. Why should I raise so many idle people? Of course, I will keep the useful ones. Fire me for being useless. This is a profit-making factory, not a charitable nursing home. If your skills are not good, then hurry up and make room. If your skills are good, I can increase your salary. This is the real market economy. Work more, get more, work less, and get less. If you don't work, you will get nothing. If it is still the same as before, how can we mobilize the enthusiasm and creativity of workers, just like the big pot of socialism? Moreover, I can guarantee you that in 3 years at most, at least half of the existing state-owned factories will collapse, because even the state-owned enterprises cannot bear the burden and support so many idle people. We will recruit them again, when the time comes. People, they will come crying and begging you. Boss, you said that state-owned factories will close down in 3 years. Luhan asked in disbelief. Shakru nodded and said, not only will there be, but there will be many. As long as you pay attention to the economic policies promulgated by your country, you will find that China is transforming from a planned economy to a market economy. This transformation has to pay a price. And this price can only be borne by the workers at the bottom, especially in old industrial bases like Northeast China, where the price will be even greater. The reason why I'm unwilling to expand the scale of the branch factory now is because it is difficult to recruit skilled workers. When the situation I mentioned occurs, I will shift the focus of production from the main factory to the branch factory. Well, boss, you are right. It is indeed very difficult to recruit skilled workers now. Most of them are retired or newly graduated. They need training and tempering for a period of time. But is the cost of transformation you mentioned really that great? It will only be more exaggerated and tragic than what I said. At this point, Shakru remembered the wave of layoffs he experienced when he was a teenager in his previous life. There were so many human tragedies at that time that he couldn't bear to recall them, so he changed the subject and said, besides this, are there any other negative comments? Regarding the wave of layoffs in state-owned enterprises, friends born after 1990 have not experienced it and naturally cannot understand it. I will write about this scene in the following chapters. Well, another thing is that our supporting welfare facilities are not enough. There is not even a school or hospital in the factory. It is very inconvenient for everyone to do anything on a daily basis. P.S. Sorry, something happened yesterday and I didn't update. I will make up for it later. By the way, I would like to ask if there are any book friends in Zion. I may go to Zion next month. Chapter 222. I will be the one who beats them down. In China at that time, many large factories or mining units had a heterogeneous system compared to the villages and towns outside. In this small system, everything from housing to medical care to children's education are handled by the unit. Housing is a tile-roofed house allocated by the factory, and individuals have no property rights. For medical treatment, for minor illnesses, you can rely on the infirmary in the factory, and for serious illnesses, you can go to the factory-run hospital. The education of workers' children, from kindergarten to middle school, is given to the factory's children's school. Even those who don't study can still find a job in the factory to replace their parents. It can be said that medical care, housing, children's education, employment, etc. are the heaviest burdens on residents today. At that time, state-owned enterprise employees did not need to worry at all. Therefore, people who are accustomed to this system will feel very uncomfortable when facing a purely foreign-owned factory like Shakru. However, this situation itself is abnormal because at that time the country adopted a policy of high welfare and low wages. This method has led to a lot of duplication of construction. In some large factories, even thermos bottles are produced by themselves, which is simply unnecessary. So Shakru pondered for a moment, and then said, I will not build such welfare facilities, but when the factory is expanded in the future, I will consider raising everyone's salary standards, or increasing welfare benefits. What about you? After you go back, we still have to focus on product quality and don't pay too much attention to other things. After talking to Luhan, Shakru planned to go to Ibrahim to talk to him about the security issues around the hotel he was about to open. He did not want his experience in South Africa and the previous experience of the old Danish lady to affect him. If something happens around the hotel, it will definitely affect the hotel's business. And the one who is easiest to use force in this regard is Ibrahim, the big boss. The boss's office is different from other people's offices. As soon as Shakru entered, he saw Ibrahim beating two thin men, and they were still beating and scolding them. Obviously, this guy pissed him off so much. To be honest, although Shakru has known Ibrahim for such a long time, this was the first time he saw him teach someone in person, so he felt very surprised. But what surprised him even more was that Ibrahim, after seeing him coming, he beat him even more fiercely. After kicking him a few times, he said to Shakru, Shakru, you came just in time. I was about to send these two guys to your place. You apologize, Shakru asked in confusion. Apologize to me? Have these two brothers offended me? Oh my god, you don't know about this, right? Ibrahim asked in surprise. Shakru nodded and said, yes, I really don't know. What happened? Ibrahim sighed and said, hey, I feel embarrassed even talking about this matter. These two brats didn't learn how to behave. Last night I saw a girl walking out of the hotel you bought. She's beautiful, she's single, and then she starts to touch her and wants to drag her to a secluded place. I was really afraid of what would happen. The purpose of Shakru's coming here today was to prevent this kind of thing from happening. I didn't expect that this kind of thing actually happened around his hotel, and it was done by Ibrahim's men. This made he immediately became furious, so he interrupted Ibrahim and asked, my hotel hasn't officially opened yet, and the girls who can come out of it are all performers I hired from abroad at a huge price. These two guys actually even they dare to take action. When Ibrahim saw Shakru like this, he quickly comforted him. Don't worry, they too didn't succeed, brother. Dawd, don't fool me. How can a little girl be a match for these two grown men? Ibrahim looked embarrassed and said, hey, what makes me feel most embarrassed and angry is here. Tell me, two grown men were knocked down by a little girl. Hey, are you angry? Annoying? He walked over and kicked the two guys a few more times while scolding, you are simply embarrassing the brothers on the road. If I were you, I wouldn't be able to live anymore. When he heard what was going on, Shakru felt a little dumbfounded, but he was still a little puzzled, so he asked, brother, are you sure the girl who knocked them down was the girl who came out of my hotel? I remember I recruited them. There is no one who knows kung fu. When Shakru asked, Ibrahim suddenly became even more embarrassed. He walked up to Shakru and whispered, actually, the one who hit me can't be considered a girl. It is said that you recruited her from Thailand. Hearing this, Shakru immediately understood that these two guys were beaten by a shemale. Oh, if this were to be said according to the internet buzzwords in the previous life, it would be called rape instead of being raped. Although this shemale looks like a woman, she is actually still a man at heart, so the two guys were beaten down and could barely explain it. Of course, it is still embarrassing, but since his staff there was nothing to lose, so let's forget about it. So Shakru suppressed a smile and persuaded, oh, that shemale is also a man, so losing is not unacceptable. This matter is I saw a piece of news on the internet in the past 2 days and thought it was quite interesting, so I put it here. In addition, I think the two men should be Taiwanese. Mainland men can't be so cowardly that they can't even beat a shemale. Is this acceptable? How can I accept this? People have become neither men nor women. You can't beat them. So what else can I expect them to do in the future? Brother Dawood, I think the core of this matter should be the robbery. I came to you this time because of the safety issues around my hotel. The public security in New Delhi is too chaotic now. If this kind of thing happens around my hotel all the time, who will come? Ibrahim nodded and said, well, this kind of thing should be properly managed. Even my subordinates can have such scum, let alone other places. Okay, I will send people to clean up your hotel and the area around the factory every day and drive away those gangsters. At the end, Ibrahim suddenly changed the subject and said, by the way, I heard that the beauties you hired can also be prostitutes, right? Yes, brother, which one do you like? I'll let her go to your place tonight. Okay, I'll take the one who beats these two guys. Chapter 223, Erotic Wine Glass Dance, additional update by the helmsman. Hearing this, Shakru was startled. Brother, what are you doing? You don't want to come back with revenge, do you? Ibrahim curled his lips. No, am I so stingy? If I find myself in such embarrassing situations, will I still be able to hang out in the future? Shakru breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, but still asked a little puzzled, then why did you order him? Of course I want to meet this heroine among women, who is seductive in crime, and can fight 1 against 2 with his skills. Ah, no, it should be a hero among men. That's not right either. Oh, I just want to get to know him. By the way, get revenge in another way. Ibrahim explained casually. Another way to take revenge? Oh my god. Brother, don't you think so? Shakru asked in shock. At first, Shakru thought that he was wrong, but Ibrahim actually nodded and said, yes, I just want to take revenge in bed tonight. By the way, you're powerful, will just give me some more. I guess it won't be a good fight tonight. Shakru calmly distanced himself from Ibrahim and said with lingering fear, brother, I didn't expect you to be so good. Ibrahim said nonchalantly, I like women most of the time. I will only be interested when I meet this kind of extremely special one. Hey, I said, why are you so far away from me? Oh my god, don't worry, I have no thoughts about you, otherwise I wouldn't have known you for so long. Shakru quickly interrupted him and said as he walked, I know, don't worry, just pick her up in the car in the evening and remember to inform her to take care of the security around the hotel. Then what? I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. It wasn't until he ran to the car that Shakru stroked his chest and murmured in a low voice, NND. I just said, why he is so enthusiastic to me in normal times. He really fulfilled that sentence. I treat you as a brother, but you want to ex me. Mustafina, who was sitting next to him and accompanying him, smiled and teased him. Boss, in fact, Mr. Ibrahim is not entirely to blame for this matter. Who made you look so beautiful, with such white and tender skin? Better than mine. Stop it. Stop it. If you keep talking nonsense, look at how I will torture you in bed tonight. Boss. Shakru said, pretending to be angry. Unexpectedly, Mustafina would not accept his trick at all. Instead, she threw herself into his arms, looked at him with charming eyes and said, boss, you haven't tortured me for a long time. Why don't you start torturing me now? Okay, you. Shakru pointed at Mustafina and was so angry that she was speechless. Finally, he pinched her plump breasts hard. To Shakru's surprise, after this incident, the sladdy boy was actually very favored by Ibrahim. Of course, this is not mentioned for the time being. After a period of preparation, Shakru's Antarctic hotel finally officially opened. The opening ceremony was naturally star-studded. Not only Shaklu's artists came, but also many people who had friendship with Shaklu celebrities from the political, business and entertainment circles came to support the show. But the highlight of the day was the first performance in the evening. The Ukrainian beauties opening dance, pole dancing and Vietnamese beauties performance in front are extremely exciting for Grandma Liu like Luhan, who has just entered the Grand View Garden. But for Shaklu's carefully selected wealthy businessmen invited to come, it is commonplace. Now, what they only care about is the figure of a specific beauty. Only the magic show, sand painting show and acrobatic show arouse some interest from everyone, but their original intention of coming today was not to see these. Fortunately, one of Shakru's trump cards is about to appear at this time, and that is a retro wine glass dance. I saw several backstage staff bringing up a huge round-mouthed goblet. Mukesh, who was sitting next to Shakru, asked curiously, hey, what is this big wine glass for? Is it possible that you still need to do magic? Shakru pretended to be mysterious and said, this show is the trump card I prepared. It's called the retro wine glass dance. It's very fragrant. Just wait and see. But as for magic, there will be magic soon, and it's done by me. Come and change it yourself. While he was talking, a tall and hot beauty, wearing only a 3-point bra and a white gauze, walked in with model steps, and with the help of several beautiful assistants, she walked into the oversized red wine glass, and then she started dancing in this wine glass, with all kinds of enchanting and seductive movements in it, making people's eyes widen. Mukesh exclaimed on the side. Oh my god, I can still play like this. This time it is really eye-opening. Hey, actually it can be a little more exciting. Look at me. Then I saw Shaklu call a beautiful waiter over and whispered, send 2 bottles of red wine to the dancing beauty. The waiter nodded and walked backstage. After a few minutes, the host carried 2 bottles of red wine and said as he walked, Mr. Pandit gave Ms. Vanna 2 bottles of Bordeaux red wine. Now, please enjoy it. He opened both bottles of red wine and handed them to Vanna in the wine glass. At this time, the audience below was very confused because these were 2 750ml bottles of red wine. Could it be that the girl dancing in the wine glass had such a good drinking capacity? Can you drink both bottles of Bordeaux red wine on the spot? But then everyone understood how to use these 2 bottles of red wine. Vanna picked up a bottle of red wine, took a sip, and then poured the red wine directly on the white gauze on her body. The red wine moistened the white gauze, and suddenly a large area of snow white skin appeared in front of everyone. The snow white skin, red wine, and the enchanting beauty shocked the audience. Seeing the lively atmosphere on the scene, the host immediately seized the opportunity and shouted, "Is there any VIP who wants to send wine? There is limited space in the cup. If you want to send, hurry up." When everyone saw that it was possible to play like this, the atmosphere was immediately heated. Many people rushed to find the waiter to send wine up. Even if the red wine here was 5 times that of the outside, they didn't care. Even Mukesh ordered 3 bottles and sent them up. Not long after, this super large red wine glass was already filled with more than half of the red wine, and the beautiful Wana dancing in it was already soaked. There is no doubt that this wine glass dance has pushed tonight's performance to the climax. But this is not the most exciting part, because Shakru will soon perform on stage himself, and he will perform a magical magic. P.S. This chapter is dedicated to the helmsman Kuang Tazi. Among my many helmsmen, hall masters, guardians and even alliance leaders, Kuang Tazi is a guy with a very unique personality. He spent nearly 2 months to accumulate the position of helmsman bit by bit with 100 starting coins a day. It is not easy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Magic. None of the people here are strangers to Shakru. People like Ibrahim and Mukesh are very familiar with him. However, no one has ever heard that Shakru can do magic, so for him the performance is half strange and half expectant. At this time, Shakru walked onto the stage, took the microphone and said, "Today, I'm going to perform a difficult magic for everyone. I dare say that you have never seen this kind of magic on other occasions, and I believe that everyone will like this magic, because this magic is not only exciting, but also extremely easy to learn. Well, I won't say more. Let's watch my performance. Now welcome my beautiful assistant." Then, 3 beauties with hot bodies walked up to Shakru. He first picked up a big black cloth from the table, and then randomly found 2 spectators to check that the black cloth itself had no mechanism. He used a black cloth to cover the body of a beautiful woman, and then pretended to be mysterious. He said to the audience, and the audience, "Well, the moment to witness the miracle is coming. The name of my great magic is called taking off clothes through the air. I can take off clothes without touching this beauty with both hands. Take off her clothes. Okay, now the magic begins. 1, 2, 3. After saying that, he took away the black cloth, and sure enough, the beautiful woman's coat had been taken off. Upon seeing this, Shakru shouted, "How is it? Is it a miracle? Is it a great magic? Do you want to continue to see it? My performance." At this time, everyone has understood what is going on. What kind of magic is this? Is it just another form of striptease? It just borrows a magic gimmick, but Shakru also said it. Yes, this magic is indeed exciting, and it is extremely easy to learn, as long as your assistant is willing to cooperate with you. But even so, everyone still likes this so-called magic very much. After all, it is always pleasing to see the clothes on the beautiful woman in front of you being reduced piece by piece. Plus, this is the owner of this hotel. When performing in person, you have to give others some face, so everyone clapped and applauded, and some even shouted, "Boss Pandit, can you perform a stripping show in the air?" Shakru chuckled and said, "No problem. In fact, everyone can come up and perform this magic, but this magic requires a magician to pay the assistant. The higher the fee you pay, the more difficult the magic will be. Do you want to come up and show your skills?" Naturally, some people are willing to try this novel way of playing, so after completely stripping off a beautiful woman, Shakru apologized, walked off, and handed over the stage to other new magicians. Mukesh looked at Shakru, who was walking to his seat, shook his head and said, "I didn't expect that you could come up with so many tricks. I feel that your place will become the place with the highest concentration of rich people in New Delhi in the future." Shakru shook his head and said, "This is not necessarily true, because not all rich people like this kind of enjoyment. Some people like to play cards, some people like horse racing, and some people like to play golf. So not everyone enjoys coming here. I think you are considering things too complicated. There is no place where you can achieve perfection in all aspects. As long as you can do one well, you can make a fortune. In addition, women are almost a hobby of most men. As long as enough people come here, others will also you have to follow. Even if they are not interested at all, they still have to come here to entertain friends. So your future here is still very good, and you can refer to the membership system in the United States, which will make it even more obvious. Upscale, Mukesh suggested. Shakru secretly sighed. No wonder Mukesh will become the richest man in India in the future. His business insights and sensitivity are indeed much better than his own, so he nodded and said, okay, then I will be the richest man in India during the week. After the trial operation, the place was changed to a membership system, and the quality of members was strictly controlled to ensure that only those with a certain level of assets and status could become members. Maybe it's because people have a herd mentality, or maybe it's because the more mysterious the place is, the more attractive it is to everyone. Of course, the more important reason is that the club in Shakru does have a lot of novelty, excitement and fun project. So after the official opening of membership, the number of members increased day by day, and it really had the tendency to become a club for the rich in New Delhi. But Shakru still planned to add another fire to make his hotel's reputation even more prosperous. Speaking of which, Aishwarya helped him win this good opportunity. Aishwarya met Michael Jackson, the most famous pop music king in the world, by chance while attending an event in the United States. After communicating with him, I learned that he liked Indian culture very much, so Aishwarya asked him when he would have the opportunity to come to India to hold a concert. Jackson said that he could consider adding a performance in India to this year's world tour, but he could not find a suitable organizer for the time being. Waya immediately pushed out her boss Shakru. Shakru naturally would not refuse such a good thing. You must know that with Michael Jackson's global popularity, as long as he can host Jackson's first performance in India, the increase in the reputation of his hotel will be immeasurable. So I immediately started sending people to contact Jackson's management company to start discussing the specific matters of this concert. Since Shakru's films have always focused on overseas markets, especially the American market, many people in the American entertainment industry have heard of his Polaris films. With the joint efforts of Patara's connections and several senior executives of Infosys, the New Delhi concert was negotiated very smoothly and was scheduled after the Kuala Lumpur concert and before the Bangkok concert. During the entire preparation period, Shakru personally felt what a truly professional stage team is. Before the performance, the stage team filled 3 Russian Antonov transport planes with various equipment required for the concert. The stage was 60 feet long and 210 feet wide, and was jointly worked by 3 teams, an assembly team, a disassembly team, and a backup team. It took 2 days to build this framework. PS. Please subscribe. The recent subscription is too weak. Please support. Chapter 225. Michael Jackson. The lounge will be built by Shakru. According to the requirements, the lounge will be built under the stage and divided into 4 areas: meditation room, rest room, photography room and VIP room. The restroom is decorated in a pure Indian style, and the layout is extremely gorgeous, fully worthy of the title of King of Pop Music. The room is equipped with 20 air conditioners and is also known as the air-conditioned tent. The prop tank that set off the crowd at the German concert was also shipped to India this time. However, this time the tank was not a real tank, but made of plywood, but the effect on the stage was still lifelike. Other props, such as the crumbling buildings and the space shuttle Michael appears on, are also made from removable materials. On October 30th, Michael finally arrived in New Delhi. As soon as he got off the plane, Miss World Aishwarya, who had been prepared below, wore a traditional 9-yard-long sari and personally held an all-day ceremony for Michael. During the ceremony, Michael looked very pious during the ceremony and put a red dot on his forehead. When he drove out of the airport in a huge convoy of 20 cars, he stopped his Toyota, got rid of his bodyguards, and planned to meet the children who were standing on the road waiting for him. After getting off the bus, Michael hugged and kissed several children before taking the bus to visit the Minister of Culture of India and received a silver tabla and a tadla, India's traditional musical instruments, when he arrived at the Antarctic Hotel. Shakru, the organizer of the concert, had already held a special celebration for him in the hotel to celebrate Michael's arrival. However, due to the long journey, Michael was very tired and could barely hold on for a while before returning to the room to rest. Therefore, although many Indian entertainment elites and royal family members came that night, most of them did not have the opportunity to get up close and personal with Michael. Only actor Anupam Kyle took the initiative to jump on the stage, grabbed Michael's hand, and kept saying, "Oh my god, it's really Michael." Writer Bazadi was the second lucky person to have the honor of shaking hands with Michael. When interviewed by the media later, she said excitedly, "Oh my god. When I shook hands with Michael, I felt like I was the same one." Shakru gave Michael a silver model of the Taj Mahal at this party point. In order to welcome Michael, Shakru made careful preparations. Before that, Michael's butler manager had specifically told him that Michael liked sweet white wine and orange flavored drinks. Fanta was his favorite, but these drinks must be at room temperature. There was also a special German orange flavored drink, Gatorade, which the butler always carried with him. At the same time, Michael also loves chocolate, so the hotel must ensure that chocolates of various shapes, flavors, and sizes are within reach in his room. So and the sweets specially prepared for Michael, flowers, balloons, confetti, and pots of chocolate candies were used to create a celebratory atmosphere. In the room, Michael doesn't like to use air conditioning, nor does he like to have bodyguards, housekeepers, etc. around to serve him. He wants to retain enough private space. In addition, he also specifically asked the hotel for an LLD player and a CD player to play the CDs and DVDs he collected while traveling. He spent most of his rest time watching movies in the room. In terms of diet, Michael had masala dosa, a kind of southern Indian food, which is a large crispy pancake rolled with curry potato filling and dipped in various seasonings, for breakfast on the first day and breakfast on the second day. Buttered spicy potato scones. Other main meals include buttered naan, butter chicken, grilled spring chicken steak and spicy vegetable curry. It turned out that Michael loved these Indian specialties so much that on the day he left India, he took away a large amount of naan, grilled spring chicken cutlet, dishes cooked with butter gravy and potato naan. Almost everyone knows that Michael likes children because he feels that time spent with children is the most relaxing. So wherever he goes, he will come into contact with local children, and this time in India is no exception. At his request, evening tea was held by the swimming pool. Children from the orphanage were invited to have evening tea with him. Michael ordered cakes and burgers for them, and let the children sit on his lap, play with them. He even had to go to the hotel side and offer him some cereals, because he wanted to drape them on the sofa, while taking pictures with his kids. To give his pictures an ethnic touch. The concert held at the Andheri Sports Center on November 1st was a grand event. As the best performer in the world, Michael made everyone present feel like they were out of body, especially when he made a cool appearance on a space shuttle and sang Earth Song while standing on a tank. It ignited the passion of everyone in the audience. This concert was undoubtedly a great success. The audience was very excited, and Michael performed very hard. More importantly, while the audience enjoyed a musical feast, no negative incidents occurred, which greatly relieved Shaka, the organizer. There were too many crazy actions of fans at Michael's concerts. Cheer until they fainted due to lack of oxygen. There were also incidents of setting their clothes on fire with a lighter and hitting their heads with bricks. Compared with his fans, the fans of Korean idols are not worth mentioning. After the performance, Michael hurried to Bangkok to prepare for his next concert. Due to the tight schedule, he did not have time to visit the House of Charity, a poor shelter established by Mother Teresa in Baikala, which he originally wanted to visit. In the end, Shaka had to give him the black robe specially prepared for the staff of the House of Charity as a gift. P.S. I would like to apologize for one thing here. In chapter 227, I used a recent weird news story, which is about two Chinese men flirting with a Thai boy and getting beaten up. It was nothing, but I added a note in brackets that these two men must be Taiwanese. This sentence was very inappropriate and caused dissatisfaction among Taiwanese readers in the book review area. I hereby formally apologize and will contact the editor as soon as possible to change this paragraph. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.